Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today's guest is an Australian legend who has been shredding for more than 15 years. In his time as a pro, he rode for two of the most badass companies in BMX, Metal Bikes and BoneDeth. His video parts are always featured fast-paced do-or-die style clips, heavy bales, and a lot of humor. The fact that he survived one of the worst crashes in all of action sports is unexplainable, and we all know which crash I'm talking about. On top of all of that, he is the man behind one of the most well-respected clothing and lifestyle brands in the industry, Dead Leisure. It's an honor to be sitting down and speaking with the one and only Alex Liiv. Alex, dude, thank you so much.
Yo.
This is pretty incredible.
I actually had to mute myself there as you did the intro because I knew I was going to laugh. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to talk with you, man.
Absolutely. And this is kind of interesting because you reached out to me a while ago to send me a care package. So how did you kind of find out about the show? Like, I think I had tagged you in a couple things because there was quite a few pros that were coming on talking, like, really praising you guys.
Mastroni.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I saw Mike Mastroni shared a thing that he was going to be on there. And then I was like, always keen to listen to podcasts. And then I checked out your list of interviews, and I checked out Chester Blacksmith and maybe Sebastian Key. Anyway, just some dudes, just some podcasts. And then I was like, oh, this is sick. And then, Mike's one came out, and then, he did a little shout out on his one for me. And then, from that shout out, we started talking. And then you're like, oh, do you have any Australians in mind? And I was like, oh, do Calvin Kosovic. And then, I was like, I'll just send you some, a care package as well. Why not, eh? And then, we chatted, and then, here we are.
Absolutely, man. And, dude, I gotta say, I absolutely love the stuff that you sent me in the care package. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But, dude, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Definitely. So the way we start the show, you'll know this if you've listened, is we go all the way to when you started riding BMX. So let's hear about starting off in Sydney, Australia, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm from the Blue Mountains, which is a town or a part of New South Wales west of Sydney. But, Sydney's what I'd say for the international folk. And I'd go into Sydney to ride street. But the Blue Mountains, it's a pretty chill area. It's up in the mountains. I don't know. I just got into riding through probably grade 5 or 6. I remember some dudes got some BMX bikes with gyros and just elements that made it a BMX bike, not a mountain bike or another shit kick bike. And I was like, damn, I want one of those. So I saved up some money, and then half of a birthday present, I think, I got myself just a department store kind of BMX, and then did that for a couple of years. And then going into high school, that's when I started getting magazines, got my first props video around then. And then from that first props video, everything changed. I was watching a video game from I was could not believe it was props issue 33. And I mean, that's a whole, later on maybe we could talk about that, because that whole video is freaking amazing. Just for me, it full informed so much of my riding, and what was cool, and what was with BMX. And then from there wasn't really skate parks growing up. There was just dodgy jumps, tall lips. I got probably only 4 foot tall lips, but they had a 1 foot landing, no landing, just jumps like that all through the Blue Mountains. And then just would go there. And then eventually, some trail, you'd find out about trails that were more like rhythms. And then just it kind of evolved, we'd have jumps were getting better. So, you start riding slightly better jumps. And that's when I got all the bike control, I guess, in those first few years, riding those jumps. And then skate parks slowly started getting built. And then, the rest is history. I mean, yeah, that's how I got started, essentially.
Dude, that's pretty crazy to hear, and especially with like there really not being too many skate parks when you were starting. Mainly because like, dude, the scene in Australia in the last few years has really, really, really blown up. Like there is just so many dudes coming out of there that are unreal. I've got a whole thing that I want to talk about that just alone. Like it's it's wild, dude.
Fully, yeah, Australia is like popping off. I mean, it was sick like 10, 15 years ago. But yeah, the last 5, 10 years, dudes are just, I get so hyped on all the Aussie riders, man. They're sick as fuck.
Yeah, absolutely, man. There's so many good riders out there. And like, when you were kind of growing up, who were the riders in Australia that you were really looking up to?
Yeah, okay. So going back to like what I was saying with like that props video, I remember like becoming fascinated with Ruben Alcantara. I know he's not Australian, but he was like one of the first pros I became like super fascinated with. And like, I remember when the Etnies Forward video came out, I was like hell stoked on that. Among other pros, but we can get into that. But then Australian guys, I really didn't know any Australian pros for a little while, but I guess we had like local legends kind of thing, or like a lot of guys from the Blue Mountains that you'd see around, or you'd be like, oh, you just like assume they're kind of they have pro status in like in a kid's mind. You're like, that dude's pro, but he's probably just getting a bike shop discount or something. Coincidentally enough, almost all of them had metal bikes frames. So it's like Glenn Newland, who had Hazelbrook Trails local. Hazelbrook Trails is a pretty famous spot actually from the Blue Mountains in like old like 70s dudes, like UK dudes went there on a road trip, like T1 dudes. Sandy Carson, I remember, had some clips in the Federal video. Sebastian Key. Anyway, that was a pretty famous spot in the Blue Mountains. And Glenn Newland, he was like the digger there. And then like Ev Jax, who now part owns Lux BMX, another guy, Noxie. They all had metal bikes frames. And so I was like, fuck, metal bikes is the sickest. And then this other guy who was hell good, Kim Bridgeland from the Blue Mountains, he also kind of like had a little bit of shine for a little bit. He was insane, man, like doing the most like a street rider guy, and he was just off his head. Like, so yeah, whenever I saw those guys ride like in the Blue Mountains, or you'd see like a photo of them grinding a handrail or whatever, you'd be like, what the hell? These dudes are nuts. And I know a lot of people probably don't know who these dudes are, but like that's who informed me, aside from all the US pros and like other videos and stuff, which came later on.
Absolutely, man. And like most pros that I've talked to on here, they all kind of say the same thing, right? They've all got these local legends who, really grew the scene. And I think that that's something that a lot of people seem to forget, right? Is that like when you first started, it wasn't really the pros that you looked up to that much. It was the dudes at the park who were doing shit that blew your mind, but was still obtainable for yourself, right? Like, it could happen at one point if you really pushed for it. Where I feel like most times when you're a kid and you see a pro, you're like, oh man, no way I could ever do that, right? And like as you get better at it, it happens.
I mean, yes and no. Like obviously, I feel like the social media and like the world we live in now with like fast media, it makes it more attainable for a kid to see any pro in the world, like what they're doing on a daily basis. So on one hand, it's like you can check out what any rider in the world's doing instantly. And, it's like you can see that straight away. So that, makes riders better. But back in the day, it was like, I'd see these guys and I thought they were pro. because they were doing ridiculous stuff. But yeah, as you say, as you get old, like, you know, you grow, you realize that they're just regular dudes from your area who are just killing it, doing what they're doing. And it's, yeah, as you say, like it inspires the young lads, and it kind of builds the scene, and they're like the unheard heroes of, like, I mean, shit, I don't think I'm anything special or my story is anything different, but like, it's just, yeah, the dudes that played a part in building a person's life or a riding career or building a rider.
Definitely,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. And you mentioned like social media, and I think that's such a great point. And it's something I've talked about quite a bit is, you know, I think a lot of people are like on the fence about it, right? They don't like it or they are fully for it. And, you know, for me, I kind of look at it as like, it really does push the scene because like you said, it's fast media, you know, the next day, no one cares about what you did the day before. Right. And for a lot of these like younger kids, I think they see all these dudes just shredding and putting out stuff every day. And they're like, oh man, that's how BMX is. That's just how, you know, that's how you ride. Meanwhile, it's probably like, you know, some of these clips have been something that guys have done where it took them so long. Right. But
Yeah.
when you put it all in a 15-second clip, it kind of changes that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse, right? It's a bug and a feature of our society and, you know, BMX or just human nature. Like, it's great that you can have these things at your fingertips and immediate, but it's also like people go freaking crazy, like thinking, oh, you know, I can't do this trick, or look, even just on a broader sense outside of BMX, like people having these like fake lives on Instagram or fake, it's just like that the media content is forcing people to act like that. But, and in the same token, it gives people like a mad platform to just put out content, to share, to speak with people, to like, dude, BMX is more connected than ever and it's sick. Like, it's only going to get better from that. But yeah, it's, as you say, you know, people are on the fence about it. Just don't let the tool use you. You use the tool that you like to your, like, how you want to use it, you know, like if it's not doing you favors, like just get off it or change the way that you interact with it. Like, it's not hard. Like you're in the driver's seat with it.
Definitely, man. I fully agree with you there. Although I do want to move on to the Australian BMX scene. So let's talk about this, right? And I kind of mentioned this earlier. I've always been blown away just by the riders there and the scene. It really does seem like Australia and New Zealand, like these two kind of islands, love BMX more than anyone, right? Like just the scene that I see and the like interactions that I see online and just the riders and how deep it seems that like it goes there. It's insane, man. Like if you look at just the jam that happened like 2-3 weeks ago, I think it was the Act Jam from
Act Jam. Yeah, in Canberra.
Yeah, from Backbone BMX. Dude, that looked incredible. It's like it's literally just like a quarter pipe and a box jump and then, you know, a little rail setup. And dude, that looked incredible. There was like a huge turnout. You guys were all killing it. And I think that's where we got the most recent clip of you with the 3 table, which, dude, god damn, that looks good.
Cheers, man. Yeah. Far out. So a few points there. Australia BMX scene, yeah, killing it. And like that jam, shout out to Backbone. And I mean, everyone who supports that. So the Act Jam, yeah, it's like a 3-day event. So it's like each day is a different skate park. And what you're referring to with like the box jump and the quarter pipe, everyone going nuts. That was like at a brewery. So like that was at the end of the event. And just with COVID lockdowns, everyone was just in, like from the previous year, everyone was in like high stoke, high spirits. And then, yeah, like what you're getting at with the BMX scene in Australia in general, I think a jam or any jam, like amplifies the BMX scene in Australia, or like, so like, I don't know, I feel like there is kind of, it's a different vibe, different breed for the most part down in Australia, but you know, there's a full spectrum of riders and styles and genres and and whatnot in Australia. But like, I feel like because we're like distant, we maybe try a little harder, or like but then we're like, just Australian culture is a bit more like endearing and a bit more just chill, but also like, I don't know, we've got a kind of working class kind of vibe going on. Like people just want to like do the best they can for the sake of doing the best they can. Yeah, it's not fake. I mean, there's fake shit about it, but just with anything. But yeah, for the most part, it's just like good vibes. Like dudes are just stoked, like from all over the place. And because, you know, whenever we get together at a jam, I'm kind of speaking here collectively, like this is from my analysis
I
of
love
watching these things go down, like why it is different, why the riders are the way they are in Australia. Yeah, but it just produces like rare, raw units, like some freaking freak shows out there, like, and just everyone's big family for the most part. I mean, like, yeah, you go to Act Jam and like, dude, you're just turning around and like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Like every person you're freaking having a mad interaction with. Yeah, it's the sickest chemistry.
Dude, absolutely. And the fact that they did a jam at a brewery just blows my mind. And I'm kind of like, I wonder if that'll be a possibility when we get our act together here and like finally, you know, kind of put COVID to rest. Like it's ridiculous here right now. I don't even want to go into it, but yeah, it's
hectic.
yeah, man. Just the scene there looks insane. And what I love too is you were saying, you know, these riders really do push themselves to go harder than anyone else, right? And I see that so well, especially when you look at clips of like Callan and then Jason Watts, even yourself, and like just all of the Australian dudes, right? Like these guys all push the scene and push themselves so hardcore. And then just the local like scene there seems incredible. Honestly, it's one of those places that I've always dreamed of going, and it will happen. I'm going to go there one day, and I honestly cannot wait. Like it's going to be...
Yeah, Cam, you got to get down here. You got to get here for like one of the big jams, man. It's sick. It's a good vibe.
Definitely, dude. Yeah, I gotta make the trip happen. It's gonna be incredible. Like, dude, the scene seems so alive there. And I'm not saying that it isn't alive anywhere else. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of people like, hey man, my city's the best. All these people are throwing down all the time. I believe it, but dude, I don't know what it is. It's just Australia is so wild to me. I love it.
Look, we're an island, and as you said, like New Zealand, we're isolated, so we're gonna have our own like microculture, so to speak. Like we're going to, you know, act our own way. We're like a tropical bird, man. We're like not freaking evolving on like these other fucking land masses, you know, interacting with everything else. We're just like our own freak show, freaking country. And yeah, that produces its own freak show riders.
Definitely, dude. I love it. I guess when you put all the crazy shit that happens in Australia all together, you know, like the stereotypes of Australia, you're like, man. Oh shit, dude, that's why. Like, so dude, wild. Oh man. So
sorry, when I say freak show, I mean that in an endearing way. I mean these riders are like cool, crazy, out of this world. Like, yeah.
Yeah, man. Is there any Australian dudes that you want to shout out right now that maybe we should be keeping our eye on?
Far out. I mean, you listed a bunch of them.
Callan is one of them that I'm like, dude, he has been a shredder for like 10 years as well. Like when I had Calvin on, we talked about that, and he was like, the thing about Callan is that everybody is freaking out about him right now, but they don't realize he's been doing this shit for 10 years. Like, just so wild.
He like ice picked this like 30-something handrail, like would have been 8 years ago or something, and yeah, that's like the biggest handrail ice picked. And then he came off early, and a lot of people gave him shit, like because he kind of just floated off the end,
right? And
then he went back like a few years ago and just did it for his Instagram,
dude. For Instagram. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, off his head. We yeah, we got Callan and then Jake Corliss from WA. We're doing a Dead Ledger video with them, and that should be out like in the next week or something on Dig.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'll shout that out right now.
I love it, man. That sounds awesome. I'm really excited to see that. It's definitely going to be the first thing I watch when it comes out.
Okay, sounds good.
Hell yeah, man. And let's move on to metal bikes. So, how long was it until you kind of picked up your first sponsor, which, if I'm correct, was Metal Bikes?
Yeah, the first like international or known sponsor. I guess I had like some other little ones from Australia, like Bike Shop in Australia, Life Cycles, and then this little clothing brand called Marshall Clothing. That Marshall Clothing doesn't exist anymore. Shout out to Nick Edwards who started that. That dude's fucking mad. And yeah, that Bike Shop, I don't think is around anymore. That's from back in the Blue Mountains, or like near there. And then so metal bikes, right? So I guess this was in the days of like MySpace. So going back to like social media, like it's like social media is a good tool in this sense. Like this is how I connected with like Burns, and then the other ex-owner of BoneDeth, which when it was just a clothing brand, I guess, or just like a weird brand, Sean Rains or Furbert. So I found them on Facebook, MySpace, and then added them, and I had all this like BoneDeth shit written on my, just like wacky shit written on my profile, because I'd seen some weird dig articles and like just the craziest shit, and I'm just like, this is hilarious, this is amazing, and I was all about it. And then Furbert hit me up and he's like, yo dude, what's with your page, you got all BoneDeth stuff on there? And I'm like, oh, sorry, I thought it was like just a lifestyle, just this like mad freaking vibe. I didn't know it was like a thing. And then we got chatting. I basically said to him, yeah, it's like a lifestyle. And then he's like, dude, that's amazing, I can't believe that. Like he just got hyped. And then would have been within 6 months of that happening, I tried to jump that huge stair set, my tire exploded.
Right.
And my wheel exploded. And then I got the clip, and then I like shared it with them, him and Burns. And then they're just like, you're on the team. And then Burns is like, dude, I'm going to speak to Jimmy and see if we can get you on metal bikes in Australia. And then that kind of unfolded from there, and got in contact with the distributor in Australia, ECI or Elite. And then, they kind of hooked me up with a frame, and yeah, that's how that came about.
Dude, that is so wild to hear about, especially just knowing that like you kind of adopted that BoneDeth lifestyle so early on, right? Like it was clearly a big thing for pretty much anybody who is on metal bikes, right? Like if you watch your Dead Bang video part, the first 30 seconds, 45 seconds are just all these hilarious clips. And yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that stuff is hilarious, and I love it. Like, I've always been a huge fan of the BoneDeth videos. I've always been a huge fan of Burns, and dude, I was the same way, where like I actually would send him shit that I was doing for my own video projects, and I'd be like, dude, check this out. Like, this is what I did. I'm really hyped on it. Like, I really am influenced by you, and there was a clip that like he was actually potentially going to use in a BoneDeth video, and then I think I decided to use it for my own thing. Just because I would worked so hard on it. I'll have to send you the clip after this. It's pretty fucking gnarly. It's literally the craziest thing I've ever done.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that like, dude, those guys are just so cool, and I love the vibe, and I love the videos, and it's so different, and it's so its own, like it's not like they found something and tried to adopt, like, I don't know how to word it. Like
cookie cut or replicate something that already existed. Yeah,
exactly. It's so like on its own and out there, and I think that it's something that we definitely need in BMX. And I'm happy that it sucks that metal bikes kind of disappeared, but BoneDeth has been going strong for quite a while, and I know that they're still kicking it, and I'm really stoked for them.
Yeah, well, I know Disco Stu and Jimmy have been doing some Metal Bikes t-shirts and like merch and stuff.
Nice.
So that's sick to see that that's still, you know, coming back to life a little bit. And then BoneDeth. Did you ask me a question?
Well, no, I was just kind of like talking about it as a whole, you know, and it's something it's something that I kind of want to mention is like BoneDeth, Metal Bikes, and FBM all did this thing where it wasn't a team. It was more like a family than anything, you know, at least like watching the clips and watching the people together. Like it really seemed like everybody was really close. Pardon?
That Gypsy tour thing where they like, it was like FBM, it was like a few teams had like created a little part of a video and then they made a DVD or something. Not you getting that?
Dude, no? Not even just that. I'm mainly talking about just the teams in general. Like everybody seemed so close and like it didn't seem like I don't know, like your typical team, right? Like just the way that everybody was with each other. It's not like, I don't know, certain companies that aren't like that. But yeah, I can see what you're saying too.
Well, I mean, that's why I guess they did that DVD or that video, you know, like, because those kind of vibes, those genres kind of gel together.
Yeah.
To your point. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, BoneDeth and Metal Bikes for the later years was kind of like all friends, like we're all friends, and still are for the most part. And it's sick, man. It makes like for a different kind of atmosphere. I mean, a lot of teams are like that now, which is sick, but definitely like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was, you know, you did have a stark contrast between like the corporate kind of brands and then the like rider-owned kind of more, you know, unique brands, as you say, you know, like the FBMs or the, metal BoneDeth genre.
Yeah, definitely. When I had Crandall on, I was telling him about how I thought, you know, most companies in BMX were very jealous or tried to replicate the way that the FBM team was in general, right? Like just the whole image where, you know, it's so unique and so different and so cool. And that's the thing, right? All these other brands, I just felt like they were like wanted to be like them, right? And I really don't blame them. Like, just all three of these guys, right? Metal Bikes, BoneDeth, and FBM have all been so individual and so important to just BMX in general.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, those dudes are all, you know, Burns doing his thing, Crandall's doing his thing. Definitely, like, so I can't really speak for them, but to your point, like, yeah, you definitely look at like. Those brands, like I remember watching like FBM videos back in the day, and it definitely is like, sure, it's not the best riding, it's not a props video or whatever, but it's like it has a vibe that you're like, this is sick, I can get about this, I like this. And I mean, even if you're not trying to replicate that directly, because I don't know how many brands, I think there is only one FBM, there's only one Metal Bikes, but I mean, like everyone's trying to do their own thing, but definitely like people look at that. People look at people having a good time and they're like, this is sick. Like that kind of resonates with me. Like, you know, you look at like Road Fools, for example. I think that's like the best example of this, what we're getting at. It's like if you have personality, a bit behind the vibe, the story, and it just encapsulates it. Every rider watches Road Fools or, you know, from a certain age demographic, grew up with watching Road Fools, and it was the best video because it had that whole vibe. It just showed everything, not only the premium riding but also the good times. So yeah, definitely companies that are like authentic in what they're trying to do, definitely shows and like definitely rubs off to the audience. Like people can detect that even if it's not conscious. Like even if a company is not like, we need to be like FBM or we need to be like, you know, whatever company, they, in their own way, they will manifest that. Like, you know, I look at Kink Bikes now and I'm just like, damn, they really got a sick thing going on with their mad team, like camaraderie, and like they go on these trips and like the content's sick. And so, yeah, everyone's just doing their expression of the same thing.
Definitely, dude. And even certain brands will take like different aspects, right?
I don't know if took is the right word. Definitely things inspire and like inform and like
Yeah.
yeah, I do know what you're saying, but like I look, some things like you're inspired by and you're like, let's do that. Like, even bike tricks, even like a dude does a trick that becomes heaps like dudes all put on opposite pegs, like switch pegs. Dudes all put on free coasters, or dudes started doing double flips or front flips, and like things follow behind that. The whole industry follows behind that because it's like influence, it informs it. So like it's just the way of the world, man. Like it's trends. It's trends. Like people, I don't know what a cool trend is at the moment, but like turtlenecks in the 70s. I don't know if people wearing turtlenecks now, but like people wearing turtlenecks in the 70s, and then I don't know whoever started wearing the turtleneck, but that guy's the original turtleneck wearer, and then everyone else. I'm just talking shit, man.
I love it. It's so good. Yeah, man. And when I say took, I don't mean it as a bad thing. I think it's something that like I was influenced by Stu. I was influenced by a lot of that stuff. Yeah. And honestly, like I have a list in my computer of like different influences that I have that I want to try and form my content around. It's just something that,
great. Yeah.
It works so well. And like, moving on from that, I did want to actually watch your dead bang part with you, and maybe you could just walk us through some of this because it's such a iconic part, right? Like it's, was this like your first big video part, by the way? Cause like, obviously you had said metal bikes was pretty early on for you. You were probably what, 18, 19 years old at this point?
Okay. So when I had that huge crash, I was 17. And it was like a few days before my 18th birthday.
Yeah.
And that video, so I filmed maybe half the dead bang section after that. So when I was 18, and probably half, there's probably clips in there in the dead bang part from when I'm 16.
Oh, wow. That's wild, eh? Dude, and that's pretty cool because when I did the biggest thing that I've ever done in my life on my bike, it was actually the day before my 19th birthday. And right now, you in Australia could be celebrating my 25th birthday because you're technically May 8th right now.
What? It's your birthday?
Technically for you. Technically for you. For me, it's tomorrow because,
Dude, I'm in the future. I'm in the future. So I'm in your birthday already.
You absolutely are, my friend.
Dude.
Enjoy.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, brother.
I love it. And
Dude,
let me play this section and just walk us through it, man. There's some cool clips in there that I really enjoyed.
All right, sick.
This is kind of the way that I'm going to play it, if that works for you.
Yeah, that's right. So all this weird shit, some of that's from like a college project, like when I was doing design. It's like on a road trip, just drunk, filming whack shit with Troy Charlesworth.
I love these. I think you kept like saying danger, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, pause it here for a sec. So like this shit, I'm like fucking so embarrassed about. It's fucking so awkward and so strange. But I mean, like, going back to like maybe some few points that I've already discussed, but like I grew up watching like the Roadfuls videos and old props, and like it was all about like personality and like antics and like the weird shit behind. Like you watch the first few Roadfuls, they're like freaking idiots. Like for most of them are, and I mean that in an endearing way. Like just like Lou Caparelli and like Leland and I don't know, the list goes on. But yeah, so this is me as a freaking teenager acting like an idiot, and it's mildly embarrassing, but anyway, roll the tape.
Dude, I love it. I think it's great, and I think BoneDeth has done a really good job of this stuff. Like we had Dean Dickinson on the show, and for him, one of his sections has him being Cowboy Dean eating hot dogs, and I don't know why, but it's just like the funniest clip ever, just seeing him like munch down hot dogs while these weird fucking noises.
Dude, definitely.
All righty, let me press play on this. There we go. I do love it though. And then there's a clip here in a second that I kind of wanted to ask about. So for this one, there's you setting up to do this rail hop into a hill, and then you end up throwing your bike. And I don't know if some dude was just pissing you off across the street, but I was kind of curious what was going on there.
So, one more thing I want to say about the danger thing, about the start shit. So Danger is like, we're on a road trip, and Danger is an Australian BMX rider, Chris O'Donnell, who's a freaking Sydney shredder. Shout out to that guy. But we were on this trip, and he was like, at the time, like a hell Twizzler rider, like heaps of tail whips, heaps of 540s, like spinning, and like just a light bike, just a comp guy. And yeah, so like, I feel bad for like making fun of him. I don't know why I'm saying it anyway, but it's just fucking got used in a video, and that's why I'm saying Danger. So that explains that. But yeah, on to your next question about the so yeah, I'm doing like a 3 here at Mum Place. That's a hell iconic spot.
Yeah,
freaking Lewis Mills rides there all the time.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, I wanted to grind that rail on this occasion.
Okay.
But I had already jumped it, and it was just like this weird situation with like the photographer showed up. He's like, let's go take a photo. And I just wasn't feeling it that day. But yeah, I'd already jumped it like probably a year before. Like I'm on an old FBM bike there.
Nice.
Yeah, Gap to Wall ride.
Yeah, a lot of these clips are really cool, man. Like, I really enjoy
Clockwork
this.
Orange.
Yeah.
Freaking nice pick. That's like the first big handrail. That's probably I'm 16 there.
Oh, wild. Yeah, this is cool. Nice big drop. And what I love here too is like the no fucks attitude, right? You've got a car speeding past and just like right through.
This gap, sorry to cut you off. That gap just that went past, that gap's insane. Like I was so stoked on that. Yeah, a lot of Sydney spots, me bleeding.
Dude, this is like, I don't understand how you managed to like get up and walk away from that.
Dude, I told myself, I'll probably hit that pole, and I freaking hit the pole because like I aimed at it in my mind. Like,
yeah,
it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's what happens, eh? Did you ever try and get that rail, or was it just done at that point? You're like, nah, fuck this.
Yeah, I like split my chin open pretty bad on the pole.
Oh my god, dude. No thanks. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of cool clips in here. There's like one where you do a 360 into a stair set. I believe that's this video part, and it's so dope, you know? And
dude,
then I like the goat.
Dude, hell yeah. Yeah, this spot was sick.
Yeah, the roof gaps. I had this one down to mention. What's up with this? Because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Like maybe they started building and then they stopped building. And then, yeah, my mate told me about it and we went out there and did a couple. Yeah,
there's a free firecracker.
Dude, like no one had done that. I don't think anyone. I've seen, who's that kink rider do it? Chad Osborne. He's the only other rider I've seen do that like 3 to firecracker. But that was like years later. This is like 12 years ago or something. This is a long time ago.
Yeah,
that was
definitely.
Like a 5 flat 7 or something. I don't know. It was pretty gnarly. I was pretty stoked on it. I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because that's probably the only like NBD I've ever done.
Dude, I love it. It's actually one of those tricks that I've thought about doing. And when you list the names who have done trick to firecracker, it's a pretty short list, dude. It's literally like you, Chad Osborne, Trey Jones, and a couple other people like who have actually, Mike Hoder, of course. Yeah. Quite a like, you know, the list is pretty short, but dude, insane. Yeah. Like there's a reason why no one spins into a stair set, because it's so fucking sketchy. Like if you under rotate, that's gonna be the worst thing ever. Yeah. Over rotate, worst thing ever.
Dude, yeah, my stem like jacked on the steer tube. Like
god.
It's like and then rolled out, landed it, and then like when we like watched the clip and stuff, looked at my bike, I'm like, dude, my handlebar's like freaking rotated on the stem.
Yeah, dude, that is wild. Yeah, anyways.
I wouldn't mind trying to do one of them again. Like I always wanted to do a bigger, better one. or like, because I feel like that clip just kind of went unnoticed. I mean, I don't know, people might have noticed it, you noticed it, but I always thought it'd be sick to get a second angle, make it a bit more of a thing, because it's, I don't know, it's pretty gnarly, but
I definitely agree with you on the second angle thing. And that's something that I've mentioned on this show before is like, you know, where I just go through a video part and I ask the person, you know, what were your thoughts on this? Like, should this have been filmed with a second angle? And the 3 to Firecracker is definitely one of the ones that could use a second angle. Like, it really, you got to show that it's into a stair set. You can see it, but just having that extra, you know, 3-4 seconds for your brain to kind of digest it would really help.
Totally. Well, I mean, this is like, half those clips are filmed with like just a dad cam like that I owned.
Nice.
And then the other half is just like Troy Charlesworth, and then a few by John Young, 2 filmers from Sydney at the time. And yeah, Troy Charlesworth filmed that gap, the 3 Firecracker gap second stage one. And that was just in the days when you just had like VX and we just like go ride around Sydney and just, I'd have tricks in mind and we just go and do it. There wasn't 2 cameras. There wasn't a big crew. I think it was just me and him that day.
Nice.
So, you know, you couldn't even, you know, get someone to hold the other camera. But makes it cool. It makes for an interesting history or an interesting like video thing that's now just captured on video the way it is. Like, yeah.
Definitely, dude. And that's something that, you know, in one of my full lengths, I only had 1 camera. And there was the whole thing was literally to make a very well produced video with 1 camera. And if there's any second angles in it, it's either that the guy did it again, or it's a bail footage, or if it's like, you know, B-roll where it's him biking up to it, that's just filmed like beforehand or after, right? Like just those little things kind of help. But at the same time, like, sometimes you just don't consider that stuff, right? Like it's
totally.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like for some people, B-roll stuff just doesn't work and they think it's fake and they don't like it, and that's fair, man. I fully am like, you know, if that's your opinion, that's sick. Like that's awesome. Mine is personally that like, you know, don't overuse it, but like once in a while it's good to have something where you can just kind of really understand how gnarly it is, you know?
Dude, it's like filmmaking. It's the art of storytelling. You're showing like, you're showing other angles, run-ups, you're creating a vibe. Definitely people have a whack attack and like make the wackest videos with like the weirdest B-roll. And so like I watch that and I'm just like, what, you know, why they do that? But then I watch a video like Vish is a good example. His B-roll just showing the spot and like the little, I don't know, bits, angles and like, and it just cuts together. It just kind of paints the picture. And as you say, like run-ins, rollouts, just to show that kind of just storytelling, man. It's sick. I personally love it when it's done well and correctly.
Yeah, definitely, dude. There's so many clips that I filmed in my second full length where it's literally like the dude will 360 this massive stair set, and then I'll just use the clip from before of him jumping it as like, you know, the rollout footage, and then I'm fisheye for the other one. Like, it's just kind of how it works sometimes. And, you know, if you can pull it off, it's pretty sick. Like, I went so into detail on that shit, though. Like, if the clip of him jumping it was slower than him 360ing it, I would literally go and, like, make it faster in the editor just to, like, match it perfectly.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I reckon that's sick. Like, if I'm the same, like, I do a bit of video editing, and, like, if I feel like it's not, again, storytelling, I feel like if it's perceived fake or like it looks strange, just don't have it in there. Like, or, you know, find the cut, find the angle, make it work so it fits the song, fits the vibe. Like if he's riding like real slow up to a stair set because he was just like checking it out, and you use that and then it cuts to a 3, obviously that's going to look hell fake and weird. So yeah, man. I'm with you. Like, I reckon you got to do what you got to do to make the video look sick within reason.
Absolutely.
Obviously, everyone likes their own taste, style, whatever. So,
yeah, man. And it's very clear that you're a person who looks at attention to detail, right? Like, we're going to get into all the stuff about Dead Leisure and like how much I actually really appreciate your brand and like everything around it. We'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, dude, you are definitely,
thanks.
You know, one of the people that is very, very like, I don't know, just very smart when it comes to attention to detail.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, just a point on that, like, so I went to college, like TAFE, we call it here, like a tech design college, to do graphic design. And then, yeah, I'd always make my own videos, and then I've edited other videos, but then all the design stuff. So I've kind of always had an eye for, yeah, detail, or like making something in my eye, I think the best it can be. And then, yeah, that rolls into other projects. And yeah, we can talk about that later with Dead Leisure.
Definitely. And while we're still sort of on the topic of metal bikes, obviously, you know, you rode for them for, I think, about 3-4 years. And then, you know, it was time to finally move on to something else and kind of part ways. So what kind of led to you parting ways, if you don't mind telling us?
You're right. Yeah, damn, I don't know how long it was. I feel like it was longer than 3-4 years, but maybe you're right. Around that time.
I think
it doesn't matter.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think I found something online saying that you rode for them for 1,000, maybe it was 1,100 days. It was something like that, honestly.
Who the hell? Where's this information? What is this?
Dude, I go deep, man. I go deep. I was looking online, and I swear it's a post that you made at one point saying that it was this many days and that you were moving on. Let me see if I can pull it up. But
Jesus Louise, that's amazing.
I'm gonna see if I can pull it up.
You're right. Was it on the old Metal Bikes blog?
I think so.
Yeah. We used to post a lot of wax shit on there. But yeah, to answer your question, Burns was pretty keen to start BoneDeth as a parts company and a frame company. And then, all right, on Vital, once it's
there we go. Yeah, it's 1,187 days you rode for metal bikes.
And what that equals 4 years, does it?
I would assume 3 years, right? 365 in a year, so about 3-ish years.
Yeah, right on. That's it's probably not fake news. It's probably real. Yeah, so just, yeah, I mean, Metal Bikes was sick, and yeah, shout out to Jimmy, and like that was the maddest times, and like I've just definitely got a spot in my heart or brain or wherever for Metal Bikes. That's hell sick. I got a sticker on my bike still. And I guess, yeah, Burns was like, all right, Burns was just a younger dude. He was more proactive, and he wanted to just like, you know, forge his own thing. And we're all mates of Burns, like the new generation of metal, like Albie, Kurt Petersall, Jamie Mowry. There's just a few dudes. Damn, sorry, I'm probably like botching it. And then, of course, Furbert or Sean Rains, he was involved. Yeah, Burns said, I'm going to do it. And then we said, well, whatever you do, we'll do with you. So I feel kind of bad for Jimmy. I mean, I think we all did, but we all kind of were just like, hey, Jimmy, we're going to do something else now. Sorry. Going to go our own way. And then, yeah, that's how BoneDeth started. I mean, BoneDeth was already a clothing brand, and we already had Surfing for the Ugly Broads video. But because that video was well received, Sparky's was like, oh, you should turn this into like a frame or a parts company. And then Burns like, hell yeah. And then that's how all those stars aligned, and metal, I transitioned from metal to BoneDeth.
Yeah, exactly. And
in most people, like, to what you said like earlier on, in most people's minds, it's almost like the same thing. Like a group of the younger metal riders like went to BoneDeth and started BoneDeth in the same way. Like, it's different, but I feel like it's similar to like how maybe skateboard brand like Baker starts Death Wish, or so on and so forth. Like, it's just kind of a section of already a collective snaps off and like becomes its own group. Yeah, it's cool though.
Definitely. And something I want to mention too is it's really very similar to kind of what happened with Robbo and Fit and moving to Cult, right? Like it was kind of the same thing where when Robbie Morales wanted to start Cult after the stuff that kind of happened with Fit, most of the younger dudes that he brought on followed with him and are still there to this day, which, look at the BoneDeth team, dude. It's all the same dudes. The dudes that were on there from day one are still there. There's no one that's really left,
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Like,
yes and no, but
like I've started riding again, but like I took a hiatus and like quit riding for so many years. Albie, he tries to ride, but just like freaking films a video part. Like that's all he'll do. He'll just play music, be Albie, and then film video parts and just like get broke off. But we're all mates with Burns still. We're all like, it's still a family, to your point. We're still a family, but a lot of the older dudes that started aren't kind of in the spotlight of BoneDeth anymore, which is where it's slightly different to like, Cult, I guess. Also, that like, whatever happened there, I feel like, I don't know, that's their story. Burns and Jimmy, I don't think there was too much like falling out. It was just like, yeah, hey, we're doing this thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's some similarities for sure, man.
Yeah, I only meant the similarities in the way that the team kind of went with him. All the drama aside, like with, Fit and Cult, like you kind of look at it that way, right? Like the team followed definitely with him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally agree with you.
Yeah. And, obviously you had mentioned that for the surfing video, you guys had really already started as a clothing company, and then it was you guys obviously would have been on metal bikes still, which is funny.
Yeah, so we were all pretty much running metal bikes frames, other than a few people who had different frame sponsors, part sponsors. But we were all like, this is around the time, probably around like maybe 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11. I went to America like every year for 4 or 5 years in a row. And in 2011 was the last time I went. So, count back 4 years or so. I would go to America, and every year you'd kind of film bits for this video. And I think maybe 2010, that's when the BoneDeth video came out. And then, so we were already like doing mad trips together. And that was a cool time, man, like going over to America, and I'd go to Boston and stay with Burns, go on like crazy road trips. Man, times of my life.
Dude, tell us some BoneDeth stories, when you're in the US, like obviously these travel stories, there's lots that goes on, man. I'm sure everyone would love to hear some.
Yeah, so I mean, there's loads of stuff I could go over, but I feel like the first time I went to America was definitely most notable, and there was like loads of crazy stories. Like, I mean, Burns is like a magnet to just like crazy shit happening around him. Like, as you kind of said before, like, you send him a clip, I send him a clip. People send him crazy shit all the time. And that's just like BMX, but that happens out in the world. Like, people just look at the guy and just weird freaks just like magnetize towards him. And like, so over the years, you kind of become accustomed to it, and it's just hilarious. But, so the first time I go to Boston, I'm probably, I think I'm 18 or 19. So I can't go out and legally drink, but I get there, and we go out to like a house party, I think. Like, this is the first night I'm there, and it's like Burns, Sean Rains, Jeff Allen, some other people, and we go to some house parties, get pretty drunk, and then we're like going from, it's all like snowing in Boston. So like I'm there in like January or something. Like, why the hell did I go to Boston in January for a BMX trip? Like, what the hell? We rode like 4 days. It was freaking stupid. But we're going from party to party, and we're crossing this like walkway over like a highway and train line, I think. And it's all icy, and there's like huge ramps like coming on and off to this bridge, like really long ramps, like so you could ride a bike up them or a wheelchair or whatever. And like this is probably like hell fucked by today's like standard or like today's like political correctness thing, but it did happen. It was like a real thing. And like I don't think anything bad happened, but you know, maybe some people might frown upon it. But like we're crossing this bridge and it's all icy, and there's this like big African American lady with this huge like parka like jacket on, and we're just like, oh, how you going? Like, all just being jovial and having a good time. And Sean Rains goes to, I don't know what the exchange was, but he's like, let me surf you down the ramp. Let me ride you. And she's like, hell yeah, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then he jumps on this lady's back, and this lady's trying to like carry him, but then she's at the top of the ramp, and then she falls to her knees. But she's like totally stoked on this, by the way. It's not like we're doing anything we shouldn't be doing, but she's stoked. Sean Rains is still on the back of her, and the ramp is all icy. And this is a huge ramp, like a few hundred meters. And they just start sliding down the ramp, and he's surfing her. And this is where the name of the video comes from, Surfing for the Ugly Broads. He's like riding this chick, sitting on her back, and she's sliding, like she's on her stomach, just like, yeah, all right, just freaking sliding down this ramp. I'm there like, what the fuck is going on? Is this America? What the hell is this? I'm like pissing myself laughing. I cannot believe that this is a real scenario that's happening. And they're freaking sliding down this ramp, like just going and going and going. And then they get to the bottom. It's like a snow pile. They start having like a snow fight. And then her only complaint is, just don't get the mud in my mouth. That's all she complains about. She's just been ridden down this freaking ramp, and then they have a snow fight, and she's worried about getting the mud in her mouth. And yeah, I could not. Every time I used to tell that story for a few years, I pissed myself laughing. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Jesus Christ, dude, that is amazing. That is, dude.
And then the whole trip, they're like, Burns started just saying like, yeah, surfing for the ugly broads, or surfing, and just the whole concept of surfing chicks came from that experience. And then the video name years later was from that. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty certain. I could be wrong, but so that was like the first night in Boston with those dudes. And yeah, that's one for the freaking memory bank. That's ridiculous. I can't believe that actually happened.
I love when a video has a name or has some like major thing within it that kind of goes to just a crazy story or a crazy clip, or, you know, some crazy inside joke. The most recent one would be Hot Dogs Who Can't Read from S&M, from the dude telling all these BMX riders, well, you guys are just a bunch of hot dogs who can't read. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, fuck.
Oh,
okay,
man.
Yeah, that would happen to Charlie. I mean, the guy's videos are pretty, they seem like hot dogs that can't read. It's like, it kind of makes sense that someone came up to him and told him that. It's a bit like Burns. That's what I'm getting at. Like, it's magnetized.
Yeah.
The freak, it comes towards him. The freaks.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, but there's loads of other stories, man. Like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So then on that trip, so, you know, I'll keep it condensed to just the first time I was there, because it's most notable, right? The first time I was in the US. So then we do a road trip from Boston all the way down to Miami. And yeah, stop along the way a few times. And that whole road trip just had the craziest shit. Like, I mean, just like weird hobo stuff, or like weird cracked out people in motels trying to like break in, or like trying to sleep in our room, or like naked guys at service stations pouring soft drink on there. He was like overheating. This naked guy was like overheating. He must have been like real high and having like an episode or something, poor guy, and was just pouring like Fanta and soft drink and like shit all over himself at the service station. I'm just like, what is this place? Like, what the fuck? And then we get to Miami and we couldn't like afford a motel anywhere. So we just slept on the beach, like the main beach of Miami, for 2 nights. And like both in the evening, like hell late, and then in the morning we'd get like guys on like motorized trikes, I don't know, ATVs or whatever, come along, like border security, being like, you guys floating over on tires from Cuba, or what? Like, what are you doing here? Like, so that was interesting. So, you know, I watched like Dexter or any TV shows that are set in Miami, and I'm just like, yep, I slept on that beach. That was my American story. Like, I mean, who the fuck flies across the world to have nowhere to stay and be homeless? It's freaking amazing. It's like the best shit ever. Like, yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's like sick. Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was like so many other like freaky things that happened on that trip. But anyway, we'll move on. Maybe something else will come up later.
Oh man, those are some wild stories, and I love it, dude. Thank you for sharing those. You know, talking about BoneDeth here, obviously we had mentioned the video. Did you have any clips in Surfing for the Ugly Broads that you were really, really stoked on? Maybe something that you had really kind of pushed yourself to do?
Damn, I haven't seen that in a like conscious state of mind in a while. Like, I don't know, I can't remember shit. What the hell do I do in that video?
The intro is awesome. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Alex Liiv. That's the character out of Clockwork Orange, and I was like, oh yeah, Alex. Yeah, I'll be Alex Liiv from Clockwork Orange.
Oh
Alex Liiv,
man.
whatever. So yeah, if you watch Clockwork Orange, this is the same.
Like same
like,
kind of thing, eh?
Yeah.
I like that.
It's like blue, red, blue, or whatever. And then yeah, film this at some drains in the Blue Mountains. And then I'm hell stoked on the song. It's like Australian band The Saints.
Yep.
This Perfect Day. So it's hell stoked on that. And the song choice is, oh yeah, hell yeah. That's like
such a gnarly three.
That's from another video. I don't know if you saw that video online. It's from Troy Charlesworth's video. But that was like
nice.
That was like a 20 stair 360.
Jesus,
it was like hell sketchy, but I rolled away from it.
And
like broke my foot there in that ice pick.
Jesus. So I want to kind of ask about this big 360. This 20 stair 360. Did it happen before Hoder did El Toro?
Yeah, so yeah, it did. There was like it was a cool time. It was like people were all trying to 360 20 stairs. There was like a few, you'd see photos and everyone was stair counting. So it'd be like, oh, Dan Lacey did a 16, or, you know, Hoda has a cover doing a 18 or a 19 or something. And then who was the other guy? Johnny Devlin maybe wrote for Shadow. Is that do you know who I'm talking about here?
Yeah,
a crazy part.
I can't remember his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
He tried to do the one that is it Zach Gerber, like bar spin off the ledge off the side?
Yeah.
Dude, pause it here. There's an interesting story about that clip.
Yeah, definitely. Here, I'll pause it.
You're right. What was I talking about? Yeah, and he had a photo trying to 360 that 20 stair, but he crashed it. And then I was like going to America, or I was in America, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking do a 20 stair. And yeah, we're in Seattle, and that stair set's right near the new skate park that apparently got built years later.
Right.
So if anybody from Seattle or has been to that skate park, they should know what I'm talking about. But that whole, like, it was like an arena for like a sports arena. I don't know if it was like a hockey rink or whatever, but there was like mad spots all around it. And like, yeah, Hoders had photos on like ledge rides and shit. There's like mad gap to stair rides. There's a guy, maybe Jack Maddock, I think, in like the facade video, he's riding spots. Anyway, it's this like stacked spot, but all the stairs are like 20 sets. It's like all the spots are like just massive,
Just huge. Yeah.
and yeah, I was like, we were there with Burns. It was Jamie, Mary, and I from Australia, and then Burns and Furbert were staying there. We're all at Jimmy's place, Jim Levan, and it was just a kind of like road trip and or a holiday or whatever, and we rode past the spot early on, and Burns says, oh, if you three that, I'll wall ride the wall ride above it. I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then anyway, the trip goes on. Burns and Furbert leave to go back home, but Jamie, Mary, and I are there still for like maybe a week or so more. But I've like got in my mind, oh, I'm going to 3 this set. And then, yeah, the days kind of roll by, and I didn't want to like get hurt I kind of wanted to max out my trip. So like, it was like 3 days before we left. I was like, all right, let's go do it. And just like, yeah, we went down there. Because every day we'd like leave Jimmy's place, we'd ride down the hill into town, into Seattle, and we'd like go to this area. And there's like all spots around there. There's like that crazy water fountain feature thing. It's like all slanted, and just like jib around and warm up and stuff. And I'd always go past the stairs. And then, yeah, we just went there. Jimmy came and met us. There was another guy, a random Australian guy who just bumped into us in Seattle. He like hung out with us for a day or two. Can't remember his name, sorry. And then, yeah, I was just like, fucking, let's do it. And then, yeah, just did some run-ups and then just sent it. But like, it's a haggard fucking 3, man. It's like terrible. It's like the pencilest fucking shittest. It's shit. And my foot blows off, doesn't touch the ground, and I ride away, and I'm freaking stoked. So like, it's sick, it counts, but it counts like maybe a resi trick counts.
Oh man, dude, organic BMX memes will love that, I'm sure.
Dude, but I was hyped, man. And then, yeah, that was in, so going back to what I said a moment ago, that was actually in the end of Troy Charlesworth's video, Epic Invasion. And that's online. I don't know if you found that, but that came out before the BoneDeth video, which is another section I did. And then that clip that you see on the intro of my BoneDeth, that was like the Jimmy Levan angle, but it was in the days of like PAL and NTSC, like mini DV tapes.
Yep.
So in Australia, we have PAL, and I think in the US, you guys have NTSC.
That's
so like
correct.
Different. And so like I had no way of capturing it in Australia. And so I just filmed it off the TV. And then who would have thought all these years later, like dudes would be filming TVs and that would be an editing style.
Yeah, exactly. Eh? It's funny how like when you think about it, that 360 was one of the biggest 360s in BMX at that point for, you know, stair set, like a 20 stair. That's huge. That's a big fucking stair set, dude. And
yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it was definitely in the days, again, what I said before, like everyone was stair counting. I mean, I don't know if everyone was stair counting. I was stair counting. So you just pay attention to like what all the rest of the world is doing, just trying to get up those stairs, like the 20 stair. And then, yeah, I got there first, but landed haggard as fuck. I mean, if Dan Lacey or fucking Ty Morrow did it, they'd look mad. But I was just some shit-kicking 19-year-old kid just freaking pencil spinning off a bloody pyramid.
Oh man, I love it. It's funny how, like, you know, El Toro kind of has this thing where people kind of forget that there's other stair sets out there that are massive. Like, that's a 20 stair. And I think the only thing that could have done that one more justice is a second angle, like we were talking about earlier, right? If you get a fisheye from the top and you just see the length of this fucking thing, you would understand immediately, right? Like, the height is massive. But, dude,
I would say that. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to mention that a good example of that is Stevie Churchill truck driving down El Toro. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's a massive trick. Massive, dude. Insane. But then when you see the clip of Garrett Reynolds at the Barcelona walls before this even happened, this is like 5-6 years before Stevie did this, he does a truck driver down this ridiculous set. I honestly don't even know how big it is, but it's
he like carves the wall and then truck. Yeah, dude.
And that set has got to be like a 25 stair. And like, that's another one of those things where it's like, it's one angle. Like, Stevie's had like two angles. They edited it so it looks insane. And then Garrett's is like, yeah, it's just a truck driver. Like, down a fucking down a like 30 stair. Like, what?
Dude, I mean, I don't know how many stairs that is, but it's fucking I know in his props bio, I think Garrett might do a truck down 20 or something. I remember he's another guy you should mention, like, here in this stair counting thing. Like, I remember watching his videos and he'd be like, this Nike video in like Germany or London or something, bar spin this huge set and his wheel blows out. And I was like, how many stairs is that? Oh, it's fucking 22, but it's a bar spin. And I was like, all right, so no, you know, like different tricks at different heights. Like, dude, but then, Garrett's fucking deadline part has, probably multiple 20 set tricks or more. I think that Dan Paley one that he just did over that rail in the wooden stairs.
Oh,
I think
my God, yeah.
Could be the tallest and steeziest. I mean, I'm no one to talk, but I'll be the first one to admit, like, you can fucking pencil 3 off something and look haggard, but to have like style and like a fucking vibe, actually, cancel all that. All that's true, but the dude who freaking owns it is that Jordan O'Kane dude who rides for BoneDeth, but he fucking threes and like bones it out like Dan Lacey, but just off like the shittest
setups ever.
Fucking thing. Yeah, it's insane. And that takes that level of like commitment where you bone it out. Like on that 20 stair 3 and other 3s I've done, when you like go off the stairs, it's like so foreign and scary and you have to spin so slow. Your spin changes. It's different to like what you would have imagined, like a normal, like a 12 or a 14 or something, or even like a 16, I like could bone it out a bit. But this, you just like, I over rotate a little bit there, like, and I'm spinning slow and I think I'm in control, but I'm actually like not in control. So it's very commendable to see these like new riders who I've mentioned do 3s or any trick at height with that amount of commitment and like panache. You know, it's panache. They're bloody going off a freaking cliff and keeping their like level-headedness and boning that shit out. Like, that shit's sick.
Definitely, man.
But yeah, this clip here is what I wanted to talk about next.
Yeah.
Unless
let me hit play.
You had any other questions. Yeah.
No, let's see this. Dude.
So yeah, I shat myself literally on that. Literally, poo came out of my asshole.
Yeah, just explain the day, man, and what happens after you do that.
So this was when that trip was when Jimmy Levan was in Australia, and we did like a road trip, and that was in Canberra. And we're driving from like Melbourne to Sydney, stopping in Canberra on the way, and we stayed in Canberra for like a week. And that ledge hop is like in downtown, and downtown Canberra's pretty tiny. And yeah, I'd always known it was there, and I was like, oh yeah, dude, I want to do something on this set. It's like a 19 stair. It's like maybe 8 flat 11 or something. I'm pretty sure. And then the ledge like goes down is sick, but like where I'm trying to jump it, normally if you do like a rail hop or like a ledge hop, you ride pretty like perpendicular to the rail. Mm-hmm. So you like jump it almost pretty flat. But if you jump it flat, there's like a building, so you couldn't just like ride it straight. So I actually have to jump the length of the ledge and over the ledge to like go next to a wall. And you can kind of see in the clip like I'm landing and going past like a wall. So it's like a crazy like different arc to like what I'm maybe used to. Anyway, that's just excuses really, but we've been partying for like every night, and like I don't know, I'm like a teenager, so that wall to the side there, you've got to clear. Mm-hmm. So see, I'm passing that wall, yeah. So like the first time I jump it, I like compress into the back wheel, and just the pressure just hits my sphincter and just releases my asshole, and just shit comes out. And we all had cameras, and like my mate Stephen Gorak is there taking a photo, and he's had flashes set up. And I'm like, dude, I want to do this. So the motel or the hostel we were staying at was like just a block away. So I like say, stay here, everyone. I ride back, run up to the room, change my undies, come back down, and then like, all right, let's go again. With everyone just standing there with their camera gear. So it was like pretty lucky, pretty impromptu, makes for a good story. And then I tried it again, kind of blew off the back, then tried it again and broke my foot or broke my ankle. And that's like the second angle that I use where I just fucking eat shit, wipe out. Because I kept wiping off the back. So I thought, oh, I'll bone it out longer. Right. And land more like 2 wheels. But because like I didn't put the landing gear down nicely, just the pressure like fucked my foot, and then I collapse and eat shit. But it's an entertaining clip, so we put it in the video. Like it's not landed. Someone will probably hate on it, but I don't give a fuck.
I love it, dude. Yeah, so going back to BoneDeth here, I just wanted to talk about your signature frame with them. Obviously, you had the oh my god, the Living Dead frame, and then also the Dead Leisure frame. So yeah. I always like to ask, how much input did you get on these frames? Obviously, you're a graphic designer, so I would imagine that you did the designs for the frames. And then when it comes to geometry and whatnot, like, was that really your choice, or had they kind of picked something that would better suit the consumer?
Probably it was like 90-10. So like I got to do what I wanted to do, like 90%, and then they had their little input. When I say there, it's like Sparky's kind of running through Burns and Furbert when they were in charge. And, like you'd put your ideas forwards and they'd be like, oh, I think actually this might be a little bit better. But yeah, 90%, like I chose what I wanted. I was like hell stoked and hell honored to have that. But I also feel like this is around the time, like I was kind of getting pretty worn out and beat from BMX. And I remember when it was like happening, I feel like I didn't deserve it. I still don't think I deserve it. Like I look at like the pro riders and pro status and like dudes who get frames or like deserve frames. And I was like, I just felt I just feel like I didn't deserve it. And so as much as I was like hell stoked and hell thankful, I also was like, it like fried me out a bit. I'm like, why the hell do I get a frame? Like, I'm freaking shit. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But at the same time, yeah, it was hell sick to just design, be like, all right, so I remember I wanted like thin tubing, but like thicker wall tubing. So like the frame looked thinner, like more racy traditional overall. Yeah, I remember making like the head tube lengths, the rear end. I think it was like 13.5, which was pretty short at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was stoked with it. I mean, yeah. And then, yeah, just whipped up the graphics for it for both the frames. But yeah, oh, hell yeah, you're watching the
Yeah, I've got
there.
the promo here, and it'll be on screen with you when this is fully edited and whatnot.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a lot of good clips in here, and the last clip is something I definitely want to talk about, and we had quite a few people ask about, so I'm really
Yeah.
excited to hear about it, man. But it's so funny to see this like kind of BoneDeth style of video, right? They've always done this thing with like the girls and whatnot. And my girlfriend walked in earlier while I was like prepping for this, and she's like, "What are you watching?" Calm down, it's BMX.
Yeah, sorry about that, but
oh, it's fine. She doesn't care. But yeah, let's talk about this last clip here. I'm gonna play it again in a second. So this is probably the craziest fucking bail clip ever, other than your other one that is super infamous that we'll get into a little later. So this is it's hard to even explain for the listeners. Basically, you're running up to a dam or like a big kind of water gap, and you just do not make it at all. So no offense.
Dude, I'm not taking offense, man. I love it.
Yeah. So tell us what happens here, man. What's the day like? What happens when you get to the spot? Walk us through.
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of funny that you bring that up, and to the comments I just made before, like about how I was feeling pretty jaded and worn out from riding. That clip, on the way to the hospital, my mate Jay Wilson, who rides for BoneDeth, he was driving the car, driving me to hospital. And that's when I said to him, bro, I quit. I freaking can't ride anymore. This is shit. And then that was in 2011. So like to just paint a timeline, to paint a picture of like what things were going on, and like, and then, yeah, it's like the ender in the frame promo, which I like felt hell strange about getting the frame. So anyway, to the clip, that spot's like in Parramatta, like this town kind of halfway between the Blue Mountains and Sydney. It's like a little city. And then I knew the spot was there, and like we showed up, there's like a tree on the run up. I'm like, fuck it, leave that there, that'll make for a cool clip. We like check it out, and I've already been there before, but like you stand on the edge and you like look at it. It's probably like the equivalent to like a 16 or like an 18 stair from the edge, right? So it's like all I got to do is jump an 18 or a 16 or something like that. So it's like kind of high, but just totally achievable.
Right.
But you jump over water. But on the edge, and which you kind of can't tell in the video unless you know, there's like a curb or like a really high like retaining wall, like on the running along the edge of the whole like dam which I'm riding along. So if you've ever like been flying down the street, as you know, and you want to hop up a curb, you got to hop like 8 feet before the curb, right?
Right.
Like make the curb. Because you know how you're like a little kid, you don't do that. You like bonk your back wheel and you get fucked. So
sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
I like that you say like a little kid, as if that hasn't happened to fucking some of us in the last 3 years. Dude, my buddy is 32, and it happened to him 2 years ago. He tried to hop up a curb and he left too late and just fucking Bowl send right over the bars.
Okay, well, maybe not like a little kid, but when you hit that shit, you feel like a little kid. You're like, I'm an idiot. Why did I do that? I should know better. You got to hop earlier. So that principle that we're talking about here is what I didn't think about on this gap. So the gap is like, as I said, like just a 16 or like an 18 stair. Maybe it's a fraction longer looking at it now there, but I have to hop, 4-6 feet before the actual edge. So now I've made this gap 4 or 6 feet longer without even realizing it,
Yeah.
I hope this is making sense to people.
No, I get it, dude. It's fully.
That's why I come up short about 4 to 6 feet. I literally land on the freaking damn edge of the water there, and I bail at the very last second. Like I tried to muscle it in the air, but I was just like, yeah, there's no hope here. But at the last second, I'm like, I should probably just like kind of eject or collapse off the bike as it hits to kind of disperse the energy. And as I did that, my toe like bunted the wall underneath the water and actually snapped off. Like my big toe, like just beneath the nail, like snapped off. Like it was ripped off beneath the nail. And I didn't know this. Like I climb out, and you can see in the clip, I like climb out and I'm on all fours, and like I needed stitches, or like my face was cut up because I hit the handlebars. And I look at Jay and I'm like, I need to go to hospital because I think I just need stitches in my face. Anyway, we drive to hospital. At that point, I'm just like, dude, I'm over this shit. Because that year I like tried to film 3 clips, and each time I like just got completely broke off. So I was just over it, and I'm in the waiting room of the hospital, and I got my t-shirt on my head. I've got the I'm sitting there, and they're just like, all right, we'll get to you when you're ready, or like when we're ready. You know how it is in a waiting room.
Yep.
And but there's a pool of blood just like pooling up around my shoe, like huge. And they're just like, oh, sir, something's wrong here, something's wrong. And they come out, and then they just like take me in like straight away. And they're like, they're like, there's something drastically wrong with your foot. And then, they like pull my shoe off. Yeah. And the toes like just snapped off, like torn, just hanging on by like a bit of flesh on the back.
Oh my God. That's so gnarly.
Yeah. So now that toe's like fused. It doesn't move.
Right. That makes sense.
But yeah, and then that was gnarly.
Yeah, it's super like gnarly, man. It's one of those clips that I think we've all seen, and I kind of always wondered. And years ago, I used to think that when you frame cased, that you actually snapped the head tube off the frame, and I think it's literally just that there's a piece of wood like floating near you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely trash in the water. And yeah, I definitely land like 50-50K. So like it would make sense. But as I said, I ejected at the last second. So as the bike hits, I collapse off. So the energy was kind of like dispersed, like a little bit on the bike and then into me.
So
dude, it was fucked.
Definitely. And I was going to ask, how deep was that water, you think?
I don't know. I reckon only like maybe like shoulder height or like chest height. It's just like a little causeway. But like, when I was in hospital, because I had to explain like what happened, and I'm like, I fell in like a spillway for a little dam. They gave me like, I don't know if it was laughing gas or maybe some like ketamine or something, but I was like out of it, and they like had to like clean the toe, and they like were putting needles in the bone and like injecting it to sterilize it. So that's pretty haggard.
Yeah, dude.
I was just going with it. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, that blows my mind, man. And like, I think what you were saying is exactly right. Like, had there not been a curb in front of that, you wouldn't like you 100% would have pulled it. And I think the run in played a big factor of that too, because you watch the clip and it looks as if you're kind of hopping it like a 45-degree angle, right? Like
Yeah,
you're kind of making it even longer than it needs to be. And it's not at your own fault. It's literally that the run up just doesn't work otherwise, right?
dude,
Like,
it's totally my fault.
fair
But it's
enough.
my fault. my, my fault, not by like choice, but by like error. Like I chose to
Hop too
kind of
early,
like,
right?
or I, so, you know, to the point of like me feeling like jaded on BMX and stuff. Like we got to this spot and we were like, this is going to be a sick day filming. We're going to get heaps of shit done. It's like, let's go to this gap first. I'll get it done. And like, I was feeling like I wasn't like a good enough rider for taking like too many run-ups at a spot. Like, you know, there was like this Jimmy Levan quote, "one lap, no crap," which is sick. But sometimes you got to take more than one lap. You got to look at things and like look at the run-up, you know, like I literally got there, like rode at it once and was like, all right, you ready? Let's film it. And then went for it. Like, I'm an
Fuck.
idiot. I'm an
Yeah.
idiot. I should have like thought about it. But because I like thought, fuck it, let's just do it real quick. Because again, I just thought it was going to be like jumping like a normal gap. And yeah, to my own demise, I was, you know, I learned my lesson, you know, you're not invincible. And, you know, what you think, I was just like a naive freaking idiot. I was just like, I got this shit. I can do it. But maybe that was the wrong attitude. And, well, it was the wrong attitude. That's why I say it. But, you know, lessons learned.
Yeah, shit happens, right? It sucks, but like
Yeah.
with BMX, you kind of have to go into it knowing that you're gonna get fucked up. Like, I don't know how many BMX riders are out there who haven't had a severe injury, right? Like, I have
Yeah.
fake teeth. I got fucking, you know, broken my
Yeah.
ankle. I've landed on my face way more times than I would love to. I have a friend
Yeah.
who's been in a coma because of BMX, who's had multiple head
No way.
injuries. It's just something that happens, man, and you kind of have to accept it, right? Like, it sucks, but
Yeah.
it's also a big part of like who we are as people, right? It kind of teaches you to move forward no matter what you go through.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, like, Dan, there's a few points there that I'd like to unpack. Like, yeah, like BMX teaches you, BMX is like a little macro like life, or like a macro, or like a little like metaphor for life in general. Like, you know, you like overcome adversity, you execute goals, you know, you make communities, you make meaning and purpose, and like you achieve and you execute goals. You kind of, it's this like little thing that we do. And there's probably other activities, well, there is other activities that are very similar, skateboarding and freaking music and whatever else. But it's like, you know, they do teach you and do help you grow and like maybe face the real world, or just be, but you're also like a unique individual. Like BMXers and similar other people, other activity, other sportsmen have the same kind of thing. They like see the world differently, like, because, you know, you're, to your point, you know you're going to eat shit. Imagine if like you taught kids in school, like, your life is going to probably be shit, and you like taught them that, but then you also taught them how to like get over that and overcome that and build on that and be and like rise up from that. That's a real life skill that a lot of people don't have. And you know, BMX teaches you, and I'm so thankful to have that in my life, and, you know, have rediscovered that in recent years, getting back into BMX. And then to another point you said about, you know, crashing, and I kind of just got over it. I was like, yeah, as I said, like, tried to film a bit that year. I was just over it. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like, to kind of come full circle back to like feeling jaded and crashing and whatnot, and me taking responsibility for that crash. It's like, if I look at my like life course around that time, I like started like drinking and partying a lot. I was like riding less and less. Every time I'd go and ride, it would be to film a clip. And most clips I'd try and get were like pretty dead man, which, you know, let's say when I'm a young dude, young rider, you can bounce back or you can get out of, or you're more athletic. But the more that you're like not riding, not doing like the basics and just going to film the hard, bigger shit, the more that you put yourself at risk. And then to just be like nonchalant about it and just be like, I just want to get wasted and not like ride my bike and be like physically capable to achieve these stunts. I was just like a young, naive kid. I was just like, or, you know, a young person. I was learning my way in the world. But it all compounded that year, I feel like. And then those stunts, like there was a reason why my body was giving out and I was crashing and eating shit. And then because I'd eat shit, I'd like drink more, not ride, not do physio, just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to send it. Just this like dumb kid attitude, which is sick as fuck to have. But, you know, there's a point where there's a crossroads, like you can't continue doing that. And that clip with the river at the dam was like that head point where like I had had enough of like this treadmill of like trying to get a clip or just trying to ride, eating shit, feeling depressed or like down. So I'd drink, then I'd just try and ride to get, or try and film a clip to like get my kicks, crash, or the clip would be shit. And the whole time, like my riding level is like just depreciating. So like I like no longer have skills to like that are up to par to take these, do these stunts or these certain tricks. Sorry, I know I went off on a segue there, but there was you said some interesting stuff and I wanted to unpack it. So,
dude, I actually really, really appreciate hearing that. That is something that, you know, I think we need to hear more of in BMX. I think a lot of times we always hear these success stories and these things that kind of happen. And, you know, I don't think people really realize it, but, you know, drinking and partying and doing drugs and shit can really, really depreciate a great thing in your life. And it's very clear that BMX is like something that's super important to you as someone who rode for such a long time, filmed these video parts, was actually a very big name in the scene. And then went and kind of disappeared, right? Like, it's something that, I don't know, man, it can happen. And like, it sucks. There's so many kids that are kind of local to here that I really appreciate riding with because they don't really know about that shit yet, right? Like, they're all like 16, 17 years old. They haven't really started smoking pot or drinking yet. And these dudes are like so good. There's this one kid who I honestly, truly believe that if he stays at the progression level that he has been at, and he stays away from drugs, stays away from drinking, stays away from partying, this dude will 100% be the next big name in BMX. I truly, honestly believe that. And I'm like really hoping that he can do that. His name is Johnny Cabardo. This kid is like, you know, 5'3". He's so fucking short, but he maneuvers this bike off of everything. There's a clip of him doing a 540 off a loading dock, and the kid's maybe 120 pounds. Like, just so nuts. Pardon?
How old?
He's like 17 years old.
Damn, yeah, that's sick. So he's like a street guy?
Street guy for sure. Yeah, he dude, he goes to the local park every single day. I'll send you his info. And dude, this guy literally goes to the local park every day, shreds all day, every day. He will go there with a busted ass bike that is barely fucking rolling and shreds so hard. And that's sick. Dude, he's one of those kids that I think everybody in the scene kind of knows that he could go pro. And like, as long as he sticks with it and continues at it and keeps his head on his shoulders and stays away from that shit, he will 100% get noticed, and he will 100% be able to fucking go somewhere with BMX. That's my personal opinion. And dude, I've
Totally,
talked to
man.
some of the biggest names in BMX, and I truly see that in him.
Sick. Yeah, man. Like, as you said, like, you know, this kid's going to the skate park every day. I was going to the skate park. I think most people go to skate park when they're younger every day. And then the older you get, the more that you're like, skate parks are lame, or like, I don't want to go. I just want to go film street clips. I just want to go. But that could be, you know, at detriment to yourself, because you're not like keeping those skills tuned, like, yeah, all those little muscle memory, like dialed. Damn, I look at street riding these days and like, I can't believe how dialed these dudes are. It's sick.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
man.
Definitely being honest, like with yourself, and like looking at like, you know, your story or your past or your flaws, and just being like self-aware. This comes with age. Like, you know, these kids, their brains are still developing. You know, maybe that, you know, it'll take out however many years for them to be like, all right, damn, I got to like, you know, focus in. I got to, or, you know, I got to chill out on that, or, you know, this adversity that's happened in my life. You know, a lot of things, like some people just, it's just the way of their life. Like, you know, you hear, as you said, you hear all the success stories, but it's like, they're just like the tip of the iceberg. They're like, there's so many other riders who like almost got there, or, you know, just life got in the way. And that's far more common. And, you know, that's something that shouldn't be forgotten, or shouldn't have, you know, you got to put it into perspective sometimes. Thinking about that. So yeah, man.
Definitely, man. And I think this kind of relates to that, but I'm about an hour from Joyride 150, and some of the talent that they have brewed over the years is incredible. I mean, you've seen it, dude, but there's so many dudes who were like, you know, 13, 14, getting hooked up with DK and all these big companies, right? And having these like massive sponsorships. And then all of a sudden they hit their teenage years, right? And then they just kind of drop off the face of the earth. And it's kind of a weird thing, and I get it, right? Like, for some of these kids, it was just a pastime, and they never thought that they could go and do something huge, or maybe they started focusing on other aspects of their life. And I don't know, man, for me, like, literally ever since I started riding BMX, it's always been BMX. Like, it's kind of weird to me to see that. Like, I've literally been riding for, you know, almost 11 years at this point. And since I started, it's like, if I'm not riding, I am watching stuff, I'm thinking about stuff, I'm filming and editing BMX videos. I started a podcast because I want to do more with BMX. It's, I guess for certain people, it's just different. And for me personally, I'm like, as long as I'm doing something to do with this, I'm happy, you know?
Dude, I used to be the same, man. I remember as a kid, or like a 17, 18-year-old freaking arrogant child, I used to be like, why do people quit? You know, freaking idiots. Like, BMX or die, BMX till the end. But then I quit riding. I like disappeared. I like, didn't ride for like 4 years, and then busted my ACL and didn't ride for another 3 years. So, but in that time, like, you know, I learned my time away from BMX, I value, because it gave me perspective, and like I could reorganize shit in my mind. And so yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, dude, BMX, nothing else. Like, now I love BMX, but I love it differently. Like, or I love it the same as I used to like it when I was like 14 or 16. When it got too serious, or like, you know, signature frame, video part, this, that, the other, like, dude, I had a meltdown. Like, I couldn't handle that shit. And like, filming video parts, or like web videos became like a real big thing. And I was like, dude, how does a dude go out and film like a video part in a weekend? Like, this is beyond me. And like, it just makes you bitter. But again, going back to what I said before, I was bitter at myself. Like, BMX did nothing wrong. I was making poor choices, that each choice was kind of informing another poor choice. So like injury, so you time off the bike, so you drink more, so more time off the bike. your skills are going downhill. It's just like a cycle of going down, and it just happens. Like, you don't know it, and then next thing you know, you're like, fuck BMX, I'm not riding. And that's kind of what I was. But now, come full circle, retrospectively, like, I really value the time that I had away from BMX and the perspective it gave me towards BMX, because now I can see things like, to like quit something that you love is like really sad. It's a sad thing to do. But then, you know, you have time to process that. You're away from it. You're like, I don't care. You do other things with your life. You pursue other things. You put those same like skills that you learn, or BMX teaches you, like how to execute goals, how to, you know, navigate through life. But from BMX, you learn, maybe I could do that with something else. And then, you know, sure enough, you can. You're like, all right, I'll focus on my graphic design, or I'll do this, or, you know. And then here we are all those years later, like, after I had a crazy, like, busted my ACL, and then just started getting fit and healthy, and then started riding a bike, and it was like, may as well try ride a BMX bike. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but yeah.
No, dude, everything you're saying is very important, and I think we need to hear it, to be honest with you. I think for someone like yourself who, and honestly, I know you don't really believe me on it, but you are a big name, dude. Like, you, dude, I know you don't believe it, but when I was working at a bike shop, barely like, you know, knowledgeable about BMX at all, we would always talk about Alex Liiv, you know, the dude, Alex Liiv, Sean Burns, all these guys who are crazy and would send shit. And I think it's important for people to hear that, you know, at one point in your life, BMX wasn't important anymore, you know, or it was still important, but it wasn't a big thing for you. Yeah.
Yeah. It fell out of my life, and that's part of life. Life isn't just BMX. Life is complex and has many like things, good and bad, that are involved. And like, as you grow up, you know, and you know, we're talking about these young kids and whatever, something else just captures them. Like, you know, say it could be a negative or a positive, or a combination of both. I don't think like just life comes in and just takes charge. Like, some people get girlfriends, cars, they get into like motorsports, or like, you know, they get a job, they don't want to get hurt. That's life. That's the human, like, again, that's like the iceberg. That's the bulk of the BMX community. Like, you've got these top tier pros, which is sick and it's great, but that's sadly, but more importantly, it's like, truthfully not the way that BMX is for everyone. BMX is more like your experience, my experience, just the general experience. It's great to have these pro dudes out there killing it and paving the way and getting the sponsors, but at the same token, it's also so sick that you can just like doing an activity like cycling a bike and doing tricks, and that just entertains you. That just like gives your life meaning. You get to go, you know, this is what I found through not riding, but then, you know, I've developed relationships with people from all different walks of life. And I was like, man, that's BMX. Like, you know, you go back, I get back into BMX now, and I'm just like, I love the community. I love going to the skate park and talking and catching up. I love having a mad progression session and trying to learn stuff or practice stuff. It's the same thing that I used to like when I was a kid, but before it got tainted by everything else. It's just simple. It's just like, you're doing this arbitrary thing. Like, you're freaking riding a bike doing arbitrary tricks. It's like, can't get more like ridiculous than that. It's like, you're freaking doing tricks on a bicycle, like, and hanging out with your mates, or like hanging out with other people who like doing that, who you call your mates. And it's just, that's so meaningless, but so amazing that we construct meaning out of that. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's absolutely. Like, it's something that's like, it's funny when I talk to someone who doesn't really know what BMX is, doesn't really care. Maybe they've seen, the fail videos online or something. And then they kind
Yeah.
of look at it as like, this guy is wasting his life, right? This guy is literally like putting so much effort and so much time into, talking about doing bike tricks and like talking about doing this shit, right? He filmed 2 videos that took 6 years to do, of just bike tricks and like all this stuff. It is like, when you break it down like that, it's so ridiculous, right? Like, to think that I put in so much time and effort into this, and like, this is one of the most important things in my life, when you really break it down, seems ridiculous. But to me, it's something
It's
where
so
like,
amazing.
this community is the only thing I've ever known, and it's the community that I've always felt accepted in. And
Totally.
honestly, I kind of really hope that I never get to the point where I want to just take a break and leave it all behind, right? Like, BMX is a thing for me that I've always
Yep.
appreciated, and it's always made me feel whole, right? Like, up until I
Yep.
started
Hell
riding a
yeah.
bike, man, I really didn't know who I was, didn't know the kind of person that I would become.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about it, right? Like,
Yep. Totally.
BMX and the community and the people around it, even, like, I don't know, I just look at it as like, look at BMX jams, right? Like, look at the ACT jam, look at like the
Yeah.
local skate park jam. When you can just get like 100, 200 people all in one location on a random
Yeah.
day with barely any fucking notice, with no promises of like, really, most people will have
Yeah.
like prizes or something, some sort of incentive. But when you can get things together where it's basically the incentive is, hey, come drive 2-3 hours away to
Yeah.
do this thing with us, with people who are also driving 2-3 hours away, that have never met you. You don't know what the community is going to be like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, but yet everybody shows up and everybody has an incredible time. That's fucking
Yeah.
amazing, dude. Like,
Dude, full on. Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
something
like, sorry, go for it.
it's something that is just so different and so in its own. And what I love too is like, there's so many people that say it's the same as like other sports, right? And like, oh yeah, other places have this too. But I don't think it is, because I think with other sports, you've got other people relying on you and all this other bullshit. And I think that's why a lot of people in BMX don't like team sports. They don't get into that shit. And it's mainly because it's like, in BMX, you can be an individual. It doesn't really matter too much, right? Like,
Dude, it's like exactly fully what you've all said there. Like, you're doing these videos, you're doing this podcast, we go to these jams. It's like, on the surface, it's so ridiculous. And that's why it is amazing, because you do it because you want to do it. We do it because we want to do it for no other reason. It's like constructing meaning in absurdity. It's like we are doing something in the face of the world kind of bearing down on us, reality, life, everything's weighing over all of us, all the humans, right? And you've got the regular folk who are like, you've got to pursue these careers, you've got to pursue these things. And they're just like chasing the carrot, in front of their eyes. But BMX is like, I feel like, for me personally, and I feel like for many others, it's like they've figured out that the carrot is within. It's like here and now. It's the thing. You just go and participate in BMX and you've achieved the fucking meaning of life.
absolutely.
You're like, this is all you got to do. And the rest of society is like, what are you doing that for? That makes no sense. It's like, well, what are you doing? You're doing arbitrary tasks like chasing money, chasing career, chasing this, that, and the other thing. They're arbitrary and they might give you meaning, but we're doing a thing that the meaning is like here and now, and we're participating in it. We're getting stoked. We're making videos for the sake of doing it. It's like, you don't have many other things, many other people, many other, as you say, sports or activities. There's similarities, like with skateboarding or maybe bands or something. People do things for the sake of doing things. Art, they're just doing it. And that's like the real secret to like living a good life, that you can be okay within yourself doing these things that just make you feel good, that it's like you're they're just so meaningless. It's amazing that we like do it and it gives us meaning. It's like, it's mind blowing. It's like we're tricking the freaking Matrix AI computer that we're living in. We're like getting ourselves out of the trick that everyone else thinks that. It's like the saying, like it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's that whole thing, right? Yeah.
Dude, and what I love too is that like literally some of the most important people in my life who I've always had an influence for, right? Like someone who I look up to at such an iconic level are like, you know, Steve Crandall, a dude who lives in a bus, who had a bike company and now makes coffee and gives back to the community with Radshare, right? Or like, you know, Stu Johnson, who filmed BMX videos for the last 20, 30 years and works with X Games and all this crazy shit. But then it's even just like, you know, local dudes who literally like don't have any money. They don't have anything. The only thing that they have is BMX and they love it. And that's their whole life. That to me is like so important and it's so needed. And I think that when you get even like the people who do stuff within BMX, like obviously yourself with Dead Leisure and all these other lifestyle brands and clothing brands and just the average local dude who's even just trying to make t-shirts, right? Like look at it like this too, man. My fucking podcast, look at it the same as this, right? Like I'm just some random fucking dude from Canada who you've never met, who, you know, I watched your videos years ago, got hooked on them, and now I'm sitting down with you. And for that, like, how many other industries do you have like that? And like you say, man, it's skateboarding, BMX, music. Like, it's not very often that you get that. Like, some of the biggest names in BMX and some of the most important people within this industry are literally living pretty much the same life as you, other than maybe they ride a little bit more, right? Like, it's pretty wild to think about. I just look at it as like, look at hockey, football, and all this stuff, right? Like football is a big one. If you look at football, think about how the average football player who's pro, their lifestyle compared to, you know, the guy who watches football every Sunday. It's so vastly different, where BMX is like literally basically the same, where it's like, I ride BMX, you ride BMX. I just do it at a different level, but our life is basically the same.
That's fully a good point. It's like the participants, like, BMX riders are the participants of the industry themselves. It's like a self, like, I don't know, operating industry or activity. It's like BMX is the people doing it, whereas football, you have the athletes doing it, and then you have the consumers consuming football. So, yeah. I like that.
Absolutely, man. And like, think about it this way, right? How many fucking people have bought like pro jerseys of people that are like sports fans when, you know, it just sits in like a case or a box? And I have nothing wrong with that. Let me be clear here. I have way too many fucking records over there that are from bands that, you know, I've listened to once and that they're going to stay in pristine condition. The difference with BMX is, though, most people who go out and buy a BMX frame from their favorite pro rider are going to put that frame on their bike and they're going to ride it. They're actually going to use it and they're going to appreciate it for so much more than just understanding that it was that, you know?
Yep. Yeah, it's sick. It's great.
Definitely, man. Dude, I really wanted to speak a little bit about Dead Leisure. And obviously, you know, we've mentioned it a little bit so far. And back in 2019, you would start it. And basically, you know, it's a BMX clothing and lifestyle brand. And obviously, deep roots within BMX and whatnot. And I was just really interested, you know, how long had Dead Leisure been a thought before you kind of fully committed to it and really started to make it a thing in 2019?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I feel like we in Australia, we pronounce leisure like leisure, leisure. So it's like dead leisure. So like it sounds strange for when you say dead leisure. Because I feel like it sounds odd for me when you say dead leisure. Dead
Sorry.
leisure. It's all right because it's like dead and then ledge. It's like rhymes a little bit when we say it.
Fair
But
enough.
that's cool. That's just about the pronunciation, I guess. So, and yeah, the name's pretty odd.
To be fair,
Yeah, so-
sorry to interrupt. To be
You're right,
fair,
you're right.
I am
Yeah.
absolutely terrible when it comes to reading, writing, pronouncing. If you've listened to the show before, you'll know that. Like, I got so much shit for pronouncing Lucero as Lucero or something like that.
Lucero.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
something ridiculous. I know I got so much shit for it. Ian, I'm looking at you. You'll still give me shit for it, but I love it.
Dude, it's all good. I heard yeah, it's all gravy, man. I'm the same. Like we can't all be 100% perfect in everyone's eyes all the time or whatever. I heard on Mike Mastroni's one, he said dead leisure, and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? It sounds so weird. And so yeah, I thought I'd bring that up because anyway, it's a topical point.
I love it.
So you had asked how it came to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Sydney, and I moved to Melbourne probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, and there's always been in the back of my mind because I kind of have graphic design background, so I was like always like it would be sweet to start a project, a brand of my own, and I'd done work for like other brands within BMX and other graphic design. Like that's what I do as a day job. But I was like, I really want to just have something that's my own, right? That I can just develop and create in my own way. And so when moving down to Melbourne, we moved into the city. So you're a bit more around like the hustle and bustle, a bit more of the street culture. Like Melbourne's pretty cosmopolitan. Melbourne's pretty cultured and yeah, it's just a sick place. And so it's got a lot of like inspiration for, creative types, I guess. And I'm down here and I'm thinking, obviously I've always got this thing in the back of my mind, like, oh, it'd be cool to start something. But when I moved down here, this is when I was like freaking hated BMX, like I was a piece of shit really. But I had this like idea to have like a nihilistic brand, like fuck the world, there's no point doing anything, fuck it. And like I imagine making like stickers that said nihilism and just like run them on your down tube and just be like, I'm gonna fucking ride around and just make sure everyone knows that I think the world's fucked. Anyway, like I kind of almost had that in mind. Like I had some designs and concepts, and then that brand was going to be called The Void. And then sure enough, like maybe 2 years or around the same time, that brand Doomed started.
Yep.
And Doomed, that's like nihilism as hell. And like, although the actual design is very different to like maybe how I pictured it, but I was like, damn, that's like what I imagine would be sick. I know Cult kind of has it. A lot of brands have this because I do think there's like a cultural thing that's happening and it's being expressed in these different brands. People are becoming more like, or have been more nihilistic. We live in a crazy world. And so people are like, fuck the world, fuck the system, let it burn. Like, you see some crazy shit happen over the last few years, right? And so, it makes sense to have a brand or art or imagery that encapsulates that. And so from my like transition from being, piece of shit to kind of optimizing my life and just getting happy and finding meaning and purpose in my life, and reading a lot of like existential philosophy, which have kind of already like touched on and seeded in some of the other conversations we've had already today. But that sense of meaningless, constructing meaning out of meaninglessness is like profound. That is how to get out of the like obscure, as the philosopher Albert Camus would say. So, you know, there comes a point where an individual feels that this is relevant because some of my designs and stuff are inspired by such things. But there comes a point in a person's life when they realize that they are living in a meaningless, obscure world. And then they now, like, that meaning is like stripped away from them. And the individual kind of has a few options. The individual this is what Albert Camus kind of gets at. He's saying, like, the individual can commit suicide. The individual can continue to live in the obscure, which is like torture, but which is nihilism. People who I see living like, fuck the world, fuck everything, but then simultaneously don't do anything for themselves to better themselves. They're like trapped in this condition, which this is what I was in. And then the third situation is the individual overrides this by constructing meaning in the face of meaninglessness or in the obscure, which is what I was getting at before, how cool BMX is for that. And, you know, so as my life started to change, I was like, no, I'd be sicker if the brand Dead Leisure was about or was inspired by meaning in the face of fucking nihilism. Like, the world's fucked, or the shit is crazy. Mental health is like, you know, people are going insane. People are, when I say insane, you know, all the different neurotic conditions that people have. Just the people are like, we're living in a crazy time, but maybe we've always been living in a crazy time. But we have to, I mean, we don't have to, but like a way out of that, or a way to resolve that, like stress and anxiety, is to construct meaning in one's life. And so Dead Leisure was kind of the, like, birthed out of that. Like, it was, oh, how can I not only in my own life find meaning, but how can I now literally construct something that I will put into the world, Dead Leisure, which will not only be me constructing meaning for the world or for myself, but it encapsulates these ideas. And I was like, damn, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then the name, I just had like a bunch of random names that I like literally printed off, like all these words that I liked, and like would put them all together, and like started designing some early designs that I had, but with all different names. And I was just showing them to friends, or like I'd have them like cut out a piece of paper and I just like rearrange them and be like, oh, what about this phrase? What about this word? What about this combination? And and then I would research them. I'd be like, all right, is there an Instagram? Is there a website? Is there a competing like brand? Or I'd look around, and all the phrases I was coming up with they made sense. Like, they were like an example was like, I really liked the word ritual. So I was like, I can't even remember an example here, but it was like, it was a sentence, like it made sense. But I was like, you know, it would be cooler if it didn't make sense. Like, it was an original phrase that you've never heard before. And then like, I had this crazy idea in the past that like, you can like mentally travel through time. I don't mean this like as a physical property of the world, the universe, but like just as a kind of thought experiment. Like, what if I could like, so moving through time, I was like, what if I like thought of this phrase, or like Dead Leisure existed, and then I sent it back in time to my earlier self, and then I named my frame the Dead Leisure, only to then 8-10 years later retrieve that name and then turn it into Dead Leisure to send it back to myself. I know it sounds bonkers, but like, I was like, damn, that's so freaking trippy and cool. And I love like science fiction, like weird trippy shit like that. So I was like, dude, it's got to be Dead Leisure. And like, I just felt like the name really struck me as like, this is like a, you know, a phrase that's rolls off the tongue, kind of, or it just is, it's an original term. It's like a cool band name. You know how like you see bands, they have like original composition of words. That's what makes the band name memorable, rather than, you know, phrases of words that you would hear commonly, and so they're less memorable. It's kind of a bit like that. And then, yeah, Dead Leisure was born. I was like, it's got to be Dead Leisure. And then, bam, started making shit.
Dude, I love it. I was actually really interested to hear the story behind the name of it, mainly because your frame was called the Dead Leisure. So, like, see, I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying to fix it. But
no, Dead Leisure sounds sick.
Yeah, it does. I like it. But yeah, your frame was called the Dead Leisure. Was the second frame that you guys did through BoneDeth. So I kind of was wondering if that was maybe something back then that you had kind of planned to do, and then, you know, maybe it took a little longer than anticipated, or what the meaning was.
I told you, I sent it through time. I sent it backwards through.
Yeah,
time.
I love it.
Sorry, no, but to kind of answer your question more like legitimately, the frame, this is when I was like, man, I'm not going to ride seriously anymore. I'm just going to be like leisure. I'm just going to chill out and just take it all chill. And then, I don't know, I just freaking said Dead Leisure, or, you know, I was like, the frame's got to be called the Leisure frame, or like Leisure something.
I like that though. That's really good. And mainly, like, I like the dead part of it too, because that literally matches BoneDeth. Like, that's the whole thing behind BoneDeth is, you know, the fucking, like, the Bone Boys, or, you know, the dead man. Like,
yeah, dude, totally.
Yeah, that's
it was like, I remember thinking, how can I make Leisure sound like BoneDethy? How can I make it feel more like gnarly? I was like, just say Dead Leisure. It's like, yeah, that's sick. And then, but I already like quit riding when that frame came out. Like, I didn't even run one of those frames.
Oh, wild. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Do you have one by chance, or do you not have one at all?
Nah, I never got one. I only saw photos of it.
Dude, that's wild.
And then, yeah, as I said before, I did think, when I was coming up with this new project for the name, I did think, well, man, I came up with that sick name ages ago. That can supersede the clothing brand nicely. So it's like a nice throwback reference, as you say.
Definitely, man. Yeah. And what I love there too is, a minute ago you were mentioning, you know, a original composition of a name, and something that, you know, you'll really remember. And you had said that would make like a great band name. And the first thing that came to mind is a Toronto band that actually went really big, and you've probably heard of them, Death from Above. Death from Above is like one of those names that is just so like that as well, right? You hear it and instantly it just gets your like gears moving, essentially, right? You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And if you haven't heard of them, that's not, you know, a big deal. I'll send you some stuff and you might actually really like it. You might appreciate it.
Yeah, I can check it out for sure.
Yeah,
hell yeah. That's it, eh? Like, the power of name is important. Like, you really need to nail it, eh? Like, if you're a brand or a band.
That's just like one of those things, right? Like, just the name of them like plays such a weird role in your mind instantly, like Death from Above. And it is kind of like what you were saying, where it's kind of nihilistic at the same time, but yeah, they're wild, man. But yeah, I kind of like Dead Leisure has the same thing for me, where I do get that. Like, I do think, you know, that's such a perfect name, and it fits exactly kind of the branding and the idea and the image that you're trying to convey, if that makes sense.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I try and have like especially now, like I'm just developing it. It's like a bit of a mashup of ideas, like, which is sick. And that's what I wanted to do. Like, you know, when like something's a small startup, it's kind of like exploring all the different possibilities and ideas and concepts. Like, I'm not going to create a corporate logo, although I do use like one font as like the main branding, but like, I'm not going to create a corporate logo and just like stamp that on like t-shirts and like make all this shit, because like that's not what I want to be about. I want to make like art and concepts and cool phrases and like just develop it and like explore and like yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah, it's sick to play with it.
Absolutely, and that's something I actually really admire about yourself and Dead Leisure is literally what you just mentioned there, but being able to kind of change it up and make it also recognizable. It's something that with my own merch I really would like to do, and unfortunately at the moment it is kind of what you're saying, where it's literally like kind of stamped on different things. I've got different concepts and different ideas, but it's stuff that I am trying to work towards, right? Like
Yep.
the main logo that I always use is just the circle with the goat. But then we did something pretty recently. This one actually hasn't come out yet. So yeah, that one there. We changed up the actual goat face as well. But this is like another one that I kind of liked, right? Like, I don't know how well you can
Hell yeah.
see it, but
Yeah, hell yeah.
yeah, like just that kind of logo. I don't know. I like the font and I like that stuff, but I would love to be able to do what you do, where literally, you know, it kind of fits. Even if, I don't know, I think even if you didn't have your branding on it with the name or anything, I would recognize it as, you know, your like concept essentially.
Thanks, man. I mean, yeah, one thing I'll say is like, there's nothing wrong with getting like stamping your logo on everything. That's sick. But right now with Dead Leisure, that's not what I want to be about. So I do the opposite, and I like develop and explore all different kind of ideas, concepts, like design styles, and just try and they kind of hit different niches. So some people like love just like that t-shirt you're wearing. They don't want like weird photos and shit on t-shirts. Some people only want weird photos on t-shirts. Some people want, you know, they're just like the sunglasses are sick, or like, you know, they like the hell doom metal style. It's kind of just all different things that I'm into that I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool shirt, or just like that'd be a cool product. So I can just develop it in my own way, style, time, and approach. Like, yeah.
Definitely, dude. We're just taking a quick look here through some of the stuff that you've got on your website. And man, honestly,
Yeah.
it is something that I really like, and I'm gonna actually probably be making an order this week because some of this stuff is really sick. I really like this black hat here, the Good Times cap. That thing is sick. And then you've got the embroidered black shirt where it's black on black. I am definitely gonna order one of those if you've still got them, because those are really rad.
Yeah, I have to check my sizes, but yeah, those, yeah.
Yeah. And dude, the sunglasses you sent me, I seriously wear those fucking things every day. And this is someone who has like, I have expensive Ray-Ban sunglasses and I just don't wear them anymore because like, I like the other ones. They're way better in my opinion.
Dude, hell yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I think I sent you some Please Masters, eh?
Yeah, I think you did.
Written on the side.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I love those, dude. They look great. These ones are cool too. The blinkers. I don't think I could pull those off, but they definitely fit a specific person. We actually were using one of your incense sticks earlier in here.
Nice.
Makes it smell real nice in the studio. Less like goats. Less like goats and beer, basically.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. You don't want the goat and beer smell. I mean, that's a cool smell, but you know, sometimes you need to fucking change it up.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, dude, but honestly, I really, really like all this stuff, and good on you, man. I think you can see just how much attention to detail you have and how much you put into this, right? Like, the effort and everything that goes into this is not easy, and I kind of look at it as like, you know, it's not like every single design that you make goes on a shirt. There's so many other ones that you've probably been like, I don't know, and like skipped it, right? Like I know exactly how much work goes into this.
Yeah, you're right there. I probably spent too much time on it, but again, back to what I was saying earlier, like I was just keen to do something on my own, develop it for myself. So like I like the process of like just making stuff, being like, use that, don't use that. Yeah, there's folders that I have from each like little drop that I do of, you know, 4 or 5 designs that aren't getting used that I might like revisit, redevelop, that I'm not quite happy with. But I just like the design process and just making stuff. I just like making stuff.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and something I wanted to mention is literally just the quality of this stuff. Like, dude,
Oh,
this is
thanks, man.
seriously one of my favorite shirts that I own. And it's like the best feeling shirt. It feels awesome to ride in. It feels awesome just to hang out in. And then on top of that, too, just the package that you sent me in general. Everything in there is like top quality, attention to detail, like I was mentioning, down to literally the fucking wrapping paper. I was blown away. Like, seriously, I should almost just bring Taylor in here and be like, tell him how much I appreciated the wrapping paper. Because when I pulled it out of all the shipping stuff, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, look at this. This is
Hell
like,
yeah.
it's just one of those things that's like so iconic, right? I'm going to remember that. And it's like, you know, it's that extra little bit of work, that extra little bit that it costs. However, it makes such a great impression and shows how much detail you go into with it, where like everything is branded in a specific way that fits the image of what you're trying to convey.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's sick that you've received it like that and you're interpreted it like that. It's like I'm not at the stage yet where I can mass produce like all my items overseas and get all the branding, get all the, and have my stuff in stores all around the world. I'd love to get, this year is one of my goals to start conversations with like international shops and distributors to try and, level my quota up, and then I can get the quality of the products is a bit more on point. So I make up for that in other ways. I like get the wrapping paper, I stamp stuff, I have little icons and logos and like, sticker packs, or I just try and develop things in a little way that I can achieve. Like I might not be able to get like 50 or 100 things of every single item on the go in warehousing, but I will, make incense, or I'll make coasters, or I'll make little wrapping paper. I'll just make other things that I can kind of get the branding across. But that's just because I want to do it, man. Like the coaster. Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, these are all we use now. I'm like, a buddy of mine sent me these really cool coasters for his brand. However, my rabbits decided it'd be cool to jump on my desk and eat them. These ones go away at night. So these ones go away at night, so they don't do that.
Yeah, okay. That's hilarious. Damn rabbits.
Yeah, literally, dude. Yeah, it's wild. They're not allowed in here right now because we're podcasting. The one would always jump on the desk. So I'm like, nope, you're out. I can't have you jumping up here trying to say hello.
Yeah,
calm
that's
down.
hilarious, man.
Oh, man.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, let's talk more about Dead Leisure. So something I wanted to mention that I've kind of touched on a little bit here is just how well respected your brand is within BMX, where literally some of the biggest names in BMX like love what you're doing and they really appreciate it. Like, dude, Mike Aiken was wearing a hat the other day. Like that says something, right? Even if you're like sending him product, it's still something that's like, I don't know. I like it.
I'm humbled and beyond hyped with that, man. I mean, I'm just getting started, so I don't know how many people know about it or whatnot, but it is sick for the people and the reception I have got so far. I can't believe it. I am honored and humbled by it. Yeah, and Mike Aiken, that's just next level. I don't know what to tell you. I wrote a note. I said, thanks, Mike. Dude, I can't. Yeah, it was just an organic situation, and I was like, dude, can I send you some stuff? And he's like, dude, I love it. Yeah, hell yeah, it looks rad, keen. So that's how that came to be.
Definitely, dude. Mike is seriously the man. Like, I've been meaning to send him some stuff because I got to send him some shirts and whatnot. Like, he came on the show, and it's by far, it's right underneath Robbie Morales's episode for the most listened and the most like well received. Like, everybody really appreciated that one, which is really cool. Like, let's be real here, man. Aiken is literally the best. Like, he is the best to ever do it, which is so wild to think about. And like,
dude, I still watch his videos now. I like watch his Dew Tour runs. There's like a fit video, an old fit video, and he's like when he won the Salt Lake City Dew Tour.
Yep.
And his runs are so fucking sick. It's fucking mad.
It's pretty wild.
He's a one of a kind, authentic people, humans.
And what I love,
great contribution to BMX, man.
What I love about Mike is the fact that he is so fucking humble. Like, you could literally be like, Mike, you're literally the greatest to ever do it. It's like, no, man, there's so many other people out there. Like, look into this person, look into this. He is so humble when it's like everybody pretty much unanimously agrees that Mike is the best. He was the most stylish. He had some of the best tricks. He had the style of clothing that everybody was copying, right?
Yeah.
Like Matt Beringer brings it up all the time. Video parts, everything.
Yeah.
Matt Beringer brings it up all the time. Fake-ins, where it's fake Mike Akins.
Yeah.
People are trying to like copy that. He,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, he's incredible, man. Anyways, I did want to
thank you, Mike Akins.
Absolutely. Fully agree with you there, man. Thank you, Mikey. I did just want to mention here, there are so many awesome lifestyle and clothing brands in BMX, yourself included, obviously. Big or small, they all play a huge role within our industry, whether it be, going and helping out at the local skate park jam or just trying to make their community better by bringing something out for people to support, right? Like, I do believe that, like, it's a good thing that we have all these small, like, companies and all these small little things set up where maybe you're just supporting your favorite local dude who wants to, work a little less and ride a bit more. Like, and that's, it's an important thing, yourself included. Like, I truly believe, if there's a brand if there's like, a small time dude, or you want to support Dead Leisure or anything like that, you like what they're doing, support them, because it's going to keep them around longer and it's only going to do better things within BMX, the industry. Yeah. And I think too, like, dude, if there was more companies out there that made like jeans and whatnot within BMX and like gave that money kind of back, I would be more willing to support them, if that makes sense. Like, it's one of those things that we don't really get that. And I know you guys aren't making them, but like, I don't know. It's just something that like, we see a lot of shirts, we see a lot of that stuff, but I'd love to see like some other aspects of clothing, just because then I can give more money to BMX, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. There's a few things there. Definitely. If you can support, like, your local brand, or, your local or your countries, you've got probably some little clothing brands or little squads or teams or crews or whatever. If they're making stickers or zines or podcasts or clothing or whatever, you need to get behind it, as well as all the bike shops, BMX shops. Like, this is how the whole thing works. You got to participate, right? Going back to like what we were talking about before, it's like the BMX riders are the participants of the industry. It's not like football, where they're like consuming it. Yeah. Although, buying a product is a consumer, but it's a bit more close quarters. Like, for example, for myself in Australia, like, and the dudes that I kind of support and give gear to regularly, it's more just like, I just want to see them thrive, wear the gear, rep the gear. And it's kind of this like authenticity thing, like, where it's like, I want something cool. I want to add my part of what I think BMX should or could look like. And I want to like put that forwards. Like it's really lame to be sitting around critiquing, bitching, keyboard warrior, this is shit, that's shit. It's like, that's easy to do. It's more commendable if you get behind stuff, back stuff, create stuff, build stuff, and push BMX forwards in whatever facet you're interested in, be it it's more street orientated, more, Olympic style stuff, whatever. It's just across the board. And like, And then, yeah, to your other point about like doing other items like jeans and whatnot. I mean, I know like some other brands try to do it. I mean, Little Devil probably did it back in the day. I think Market tried to do it. I mean, I don't know if they came out or they did one release or something.
It's just a tough product to make, man. It's expensive. It's hard to sell.
It's a bit like shoes.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's okay. I was going to mention, you know, I think you make a really good point there. Literally just about like being able to give back to the community in that way. And something that I always find is the more you give, the more you get when it comes to BMX, right? Like if you go out and you support the local shop, you support the local dudes who are coming out with this little thing, or, you know, you go and you try and help out with something, right? Or you make a jam and you give up time and you give up money and you give up all this stuff, the more satisfaction and the more you're going to get from the industry, and the more you're going to be able to, I don't know. It's just, it's interesting that way, where I don't think it's like that in like other industries, right? Like football's not like that. You don't host you know, you don't do all that stuff and get something from it. You get the like original product and that's it. Where I'm like, do you know how many
maybe in like some like, you know, third world country where they have like these like soccer teams or like football teams that are just like, they don't give a shit. They're like street riders of football.
Definitely.
Like, they're just doing it for themselves. They like probably play with like a ball that's just shit, probably don't give a fuck about anything and just do it because they want to do it. But yeah, for the most part, you're 100% correct. I'm having a brain fart here imagining street rider football players.
So I think everybody knew that this was coming and that we were 100% going to talk about this. It's something that I know I wanted to keep to the very end, just because I think most people were going to click on this wanting to hear about it. Okay. The infamous 24 stair crash. This clip is by far one of the scariest, worst bails I've ever seen in my entire life. And I truly believe this is probably one of the worst crashes in all of action sports. And honestly, dude, when I say this, I'm being dead serious. I cannot believe you are fucking alive right now. Like, this is so scary, so crazy. And honestly, like, it blows me away that you managed to kind of, like, I don't know, walk away from this at some point. Like, to break this down, first of all, I'm just going to say I am not going to show the clip. I don't like watching the clip. It scares the shit out of me. And I think it's because it's so relatable and it's something that could happen to anybody. There was nothing that you did wrong. The only thing that you did wrong was not wear a helmet. And that's a personal choice. That's something that I've talked about on this show. I like to wear one. I've also filmed 2 video parts without one. So other than that, this is something that is literally at no fault of your own, other than maybe not maintaining your bike enough. And I don't think that was the issue here. So to kind of put this in perspective for people who maybe haven't seen it or are listening and they kind of don't really remember it, you tried to jump a 24 stair double set. So 12 steps, flat, 12 sets. And, you know, this thing is just massive. It's scary. It's unbelievably huge. And as someone who's done a lot of big shit, this is something that has always been in the back of my mind. Like, be fucking careful. This could happen. So walk us through this day. Walk us through how you found the spot and what your initial thoughts were. How long did you have to look at this before you managed to even try it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will say most of the story is on that MTV thing. So you can like hear it in more length there, but essentially, I was 17. I was into jumping stairs and like doing gaps, and like I was watching a lot of skate videos and BMX videos, but a lot of skaters were like hitting stairs. Like it was all stairs. This was before like street stair shit was like a big thing in BMX, I feel like, or it was like happening at the same time. Like I was part of that wave.
Yeah.
But like way shitter, like there's dudes killing it, like Garrett and that whatnot. But it was just like, how many stairs can you jump? What tricks can you do down big sets? And I was just like, went to the city, met up with some rider mates and John Young, the filmer. And yeah, we went to that spot and I kind of wanted to jump it, but I didn't really tell them until we got there. And then literally like in the clip, in the footage, you hear me say, yeah, let's do this shit. And John's like, you serious? He's laughing, you serious? And then, yeah, it took like 3 run-ups. It's got a sick roll in
down a hill,
it's like
from what I remember.
Yeah, it's at a real famous university in Sydney. I can't remember which one, like the name of the university. There's like Sydney Uni or New South Wales Uni or whatever. And it's right there in the city. And yeah, it's just like crazy downhill run up. Yeah, like an access road, driveway, and then just like through a curb, like hop up curb, and then yeah, quite a distance. So like plenty of time to set up. And then yeah, 12 flat. The flat is quite long, and then 12 stairs again. It's probably like 35 feet, like long. It's like longer than a dirt jump. Like, you know, short in the footage, you see it straight on and it looks high, but the length is like
so
quite
far
long. So, but that kind of like in my mind diffused like the height, because the longer you can go on something, the more your energy can be like dispersed. If you're just like going slow and dropping off stuff, unless you got like freaking soft tires or you just got the skill, you can take it. But for the most part, you want to be going fast and like trying to travel. So I was like, yeah, you just jump from there all the way down there and it'll be gravy. But it was like probably too big. And yeah, as I said, I was just watching heaps of skate videos and certain BMX riders at the time. And I was like, yeah, it's just where the sport's got to go. The activity or whatever you want to call it. It's where the evolution of what I wanted to do. Like, this is what you got to do. Like, do the craziest gaps. And yeah, so gave it a whirl. And then yeah, my wheel exploded. The rim snapped and like curled up into like a number 6 kind of shape, like went
Christ,
and just put me in like a nose pick or like a foot jam and just straight over the bars onto my face and scorpion grinded. And then yeah, it was KO'd. Came to, as I was coming to, or like as I was KO'd, I was like having a dream that I was at home imagining doing this stunt. Like, again, another like weird thought experiment or like a weird idea that I've had about it is it's like I like jumped to a different parallel like multiverse. I was like on one and where 99% of the time I die, and then I've died 99 times, but we're now living in the one version, or, you know, there's probably more than one version of reality where I'm alive and nothing too bad happened. Like, I knocked out one tooth, like nothing bad happened. So I'm like in the one version, or, you know, a small portion of possible realities where I don't get fucked up or die or something catastrophic happen. And so I'm very fortunate and lucky that I'm in this version of reality where I'm okay. Again, I'm just talking entertaining ideas. I don't actually think this is the case, but it could be.
No, I get what you're saying, dude.
Yeah, it's just an interesting concept, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what happened. And then I remember being in hospital and recovering and feeling like shit, like, whoa, this is really dangerous. Like, this is hectic. You know, maybe I should not ride anymore. But then I kind of decided, nah, I've got to ride. I got to finish doing what I was trying to achieve. I got to keep going. And so, you know, finished that video part, metal bikes, did some other video parts, you know, 360, that 20 stair. I did other things, but, you know, on one hand, I'm embarrassed that this is what I'm known for, these crashes. But on the other hand, again, this is just the version of reality that I'm in, that I've done these crashes, that I'm the guy who did these crashes. And, you know, it's mildly embarrassing. Like I want to, and I felt like I did go on to do some actual landed stunts that are commendable. And then
Absolutely, man.
now, you know, I'm older and I'm back into BMX and I feel like I'm riding better than ever. I'm feel like I'm still continuing that journey of being a rider, not being a fucking YouTube gimmick crash clip.
Dude, and if I can interrupt you for a second here, I just want to say your riding right now is incredible. And to see someone who went from the style of riding that you were doing, which was, you know, do or die, go fast, hold on, to the style where you're now doing 360 tables over box jumps. You're doing big airs, flares, big gaps, you know, being able to ride bowls and whatnot. And I'm not saying you couldn't do that stuff before. I'm sure you could, but just that level, there you go. That level of it is, it's really cool to see, man. I really appreciate when we can see a rider go from one thing to another. And Zach Gerber is a great example of that. You yourself is a great example of that. Like Zach was a park rider. That dude would do huge Supermans over box jumps, all this crazy shit. And now he's just doing, you know, the most crazy insane street shit ever. Like,
still does the front flips though.
That's right. Yeah, dude. The front flips are like, that's what kind of made him in the same way that the crash made you.
It's a bit of a shit thing to feel on your shoulders. Like, man, I'm a bike rider. I did all these stunts. Like I did loads of stuff that I landed, and like I contributed or tried to contribute, or, you know, was active in BMX in all these ways. I'm not just the crash guy. So that's the only reason why I put my hand up. But it makes for a good conversation, eh?
Dude, absolutely. And, you know, I think for most people, I hope that they don't feel that you're just the guy who crashed on that big stair set, because there is so much more that you've done in BMX. Yes, there's been some gnarly crashes, but dude, that is all part of BMX. Like, I think with these massive crashes, that kind of plays into the industry and plays into how crazy the shit that we are truly doing is, right? It's something that is so like aggressive and different and gnarly in its own way. And
well, those crashes, to kind of encapsulate all the things that you're saying here, is like those crashes transcend BMX.
Exactly.
That's why they are. They connect with like the modern, you know, like just like the general society, and they're like, "What the fuck? This is crazy." And so, yeah, in that sense, they do make people more famous in that sense. And yeah, they're part of BMX, and it's,
definitely. So I wanted to mention here, you know, obviously you had said it earlier. This was actually on the TV show Scarred, where they did a very good analysis of it with you. And that show was like pretty big on MTV for a little while. Chester Blacksmith actually had an episode on there where, you know, he broke his leg on that wall ride, which I talked about that with him. And for him, he felt that was one of the biggest regrets of his life, was going on that show and talking about it, because, you know, it's so hard to kind of relive that stuff. And then to see that he only got $3,500 at the end of it. I don't know how much you got. I was going to ask that in a second, but for him, I know that it was a big regret of his, because he didn't want that to be kind of like what you were saying, the thing that you're known for, or, you know, he just didn't feel right about it after it came out. He just really regrets putting it on there, maybe not asking for more money, or just the whole thing in general, right? For you, I was really curious if you had similar feelings, or maybe you didn't really look at it that way. And if you are willing to tell us, how much did they pay you for that clip?
Yeah, so they paid me $5,000 for the first viewing, and then because it made it onto like the best of show, they paid me another something like $2,000 or something.
Right.
So I was pretty happy with that. I definitely regret, similar to my metal bikes apart and some other behavior in captured on video. How ridiculous my interview is. I'm just behaving like a kook. But again, that's just because I thought that would be hilarious as, you know, a naive 19-year-old being like, I'll fucking act like a fucking freak on this show and it'll be hilarious.
Right.
So I kind of cringe at that, but I mean, who doesn't cringe at their behavior when they're 19 or what they look like or whatever? For the most part, yeah, yes and no. Like I'm happy that it's on, or like, you know, it was cool that I went on there, you know, got me more known or whatever. I don't know. Like I didn't care. I essentially didn't care. I definitely don't feel regret other than just being known for a crash guy. But
Right.
that's not isolated to that show in particular. It's just in general. Yeah, just having people be like, oh, you fucking suck because you just crash all the time. Which is a fair assessment, but I can also do some tricks. I can ride a bike sometimes.
Definitely. Yeah, honestly, man, it's a weird thing, right? Especially when you look at like MTV as a whole and you realize how much money these people have. And for Chester, I know it was like one of those things where his medical bills were like $100,000 because he's from the States. I don't know if it's similar in Australia. I'm honestly pretty sure that the United States of America is one of the only countries in the world that makes you pay for healthcare. But yeah, moving on from that, we've got quite a few questions here from the listeners. So we're going to roll through these pretty quickly if we can, so we can get you on with your Australian morning or afternoon at this point. Who fucking knows?
Yeah. Let's do another 10 minutes, eh?
Perfect. Let's speed run some of these. So, first of all, this one comes in from Strike the Sun as well as Super Fun Happy Land, which is funny because Strike the Sun is from Australia and this other dude is literally an hour from here in Canada, and they both had the exact same question. Have you figured out who's calling you?
Yeah, holy shit. Strike the Sun, that's a good friend of mine, Taz,
dude,
from Melbourne.
That guy's got some awesome fucking tattoos. Like, dude, insane. I love it.
He's got steez.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's calling me? I don't know, man. Don't you ever get a fucking phone call and you're just like, who the fuck is calling me?
Every fucking day, dude. Every fucking day.
Totally. So it's just a common occurrence, man. But that who's calling me is based on first time I went to America, me and Burns made some videos about Furbert, Sean Rains, the co-owner of BoneDeth back in the day. He used to answer, or like we'd just be driving and his phone would ring and he'd be like, who the fuck is calling me? And me and Burns thought it was fucking hilarious. And so, yeah, that's how that came to be. But it's a common thing. That's why it's hilarious.
Oh,
like,
man.
Who the fuck's calling me?
I love that. That's so funny. This one comes in from Chris_2207. Is Glenbrook the best skate park ever?
Oh, fuck. That's fucking Chris Smith. He's an old local, man. He's another dude that used to ride with, but he used to ride like a rigid, like 24-inch freaking DMR. So yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. Glenbrook skate park. So that's like the first skate park that got built local to me in the Blue Mountains. And that's where that kind of all began, I guess. So yeah, Chris was a local there and fucking telling me the ways of the world. And yeah, thanks, Chris.
That's hilarious. This one comes in from Mr_Wilson. Favorite place that you have traveled to?
I've done some travel outside of BMX trips. Me and my girlfriend went to Yosemite in 2019.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's in California, and then we went to Austin and stayed with Burns, and that was a pretty nice trip, man. Like that was nice. So yeah, America's pretty cool. All its craziness.
They got a lot of cool shit there, that's for sure.
Yeah, beautiful nature as well, like beautiful places.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say that. that's a cool place.
I
Cool
love
places, that trip.
This one comes in from 70_7. Why are you known as Lipstick Boy?
So this is another friend of mine, Ammon. Shout out to him. He's a freaking legend. He did some gnarly shit too on a BMX bike. Some crazy 360s that I said, yeah, you can't do. And he did them. So he's a badass.
I love it.
He Lipstick Boy, yeah. So we used to live together in the Blue Mountains, and yeah, we were just like, I don't know, my lips were like chapped or something, and I'm like rubbing like chapstick or something on my lips, and I don't know, he just called me Lipstick Boy.
That's so funny.
We just had all this, you know, how you are in a share house or in a group of friends, you just have stupid banter with each other. So Lipstick Boy. No one else calls me Lipstick Boy. He'll just randomly send me messages being like, hey, go on Lipstick Boy. Fucking Ammon.
Oh, man, I love it. This one comes in from Thomas Borman. Tell us about your alter ego, Alexander, and I think it says McKean. Might have pronounced it wrong.
Yeah, McKee. Yeah, so that's my mother's maiden name.
Okay.
Tom Borman, shout out to that guy. He's like Hell on Wheels, which is a shop in Sydney. Was a shop. I don't know what they're doing now. But he's like an OG Sydney local. And Alexander McKee. So there's a couple ways I could answer this question. Basically, there was during my hiatus years, I like deleted all my social media and just was over it. And then a couple years on, I like reinstated it, but like used a fake name on, you know, a pseudonym name, and just created like my accounts that were not associated with Alex Liiv. And, you know, that's why like my personal Instagram is the way it is. Because and it's private because I don't care about freaking followers or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that's, and then, yeah, that's that. It's an alter ego. That's for sure. I'll leave it at that.
Oh man. There's a fake Twitter account that hasn't posted since 2014, but they were claiming that they were you. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I never saw that.
I'll have to send you the link. It's funny.
Dude, there's some weird kids out there that have, tried to replicate me. Or like, I remember there was like some weird Instagram accounts or like fan pages or athlete pages. I think I got an athlete page on
Facebook. Yeah.
On Facebook. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a freaking athlete.
There you go. Yeah, the one that always blew me away was the Twitter one where it's like a fake Twitter account and they posted like, I think a Minecraft photo, and then there's just a bunch of shit of them like trying to be Alex Liiv, which dude, you know you're like successful when, eh?
Yeah, what the hell, man?
Yeah, I'll send you that and you can have a laugh at that later. These next two come in from Butterlegs, but we already answered them. He asked, can you tell us about the drain gap crash at the end of the BoneDeth frame promo? So if you're listening to just the fan questions here, go back and listen to that. And then he also asked about your biggest influences from Sydney, which I made a point of asking about at the beginning of the show. Moving on from that, Ben Bomber Counter asks, can you tell us about when you went missing and there were rumors that you had sailed out to sea on a pirate ship?
That's hilarious. I believe that this is Bomber from the UK.
Yep.
Asking this question. Yeah, sorry, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say this was actually a thing on Vital. There's like literally a forum where it's like, whatever happened to Alex Liiv? And then there's just a bunch of people, oh yeah, he went out to sea on a pirate ship. I'm like, what? Yeah,
so during my time away from BMX, like I kind of developed this alter ego of like disappearing and reappearing and this whole kind of like strange story. Just because not half of it is like on purpose. Some of it is just the way it just organically like went. Like this is kind of an example of that. Like, so I just woke up one morning heaps hungover and like messaged Burns and I was like, dude, we should like say that I died or said that I went missing at sea or like, and he's like, just was laughing and he's like, all right, yeah, we'll say you went missing at sea. I know this is probably like a pretty bad thing to do or pretty stupid or like disrespectful because some people do go missing at sea. And yeah, he just made up like a kind of a fake post on either BoneDeth, I think, just saying, yeah, Alex has gone to like work for Greenpeace, like saving whales in the ocean. And then it just caught fire, man, and just like it had a life of its own. Like it just turned into its own thing. And so, yeah, I was Alexander McKee on a boat working for Greenpeace for a little while. Lost at sea.
Oh man, I love it. Oh fuck, yeah, that's hilarious. Moving on from that, this one comes in from Armon93. I don't have a question, but I want to send my love to this freaky speed lord himself.
Hell yeah, money. Yeah, this is a Melbourne local that I ride with. Yeah, he's a character. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, we go ride bikes a lot, hit some bowls.
I love it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's incredible. This one comes in from Hella Fried. Is it true that you went to the States to film and didn't film anything till the last day?
What the fuck? That's fucking amazing. I don't know what that means. No, that never happened. That probably happened just because I'm like so shit and couldn't film anything, and then just filmed. I really don't know, what that is referring to. Like there was you go on a trip and maybe on the last day you're like, all right, I'm going to send this banger. Like
that's kind of what I thought. Where I'm like, yeah.
Go for it.
No, you can continue. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like the 20 stair 360, I did that a few days before I left. Or I don't know, there's other things that happen. Like each trip I'd always try and finish, like film one banger on the last few days.
Yeah, which makes sense, man. On the trips that I've been on, it's like you don't do all the biggest shit on the first day because you want to explore and figure out what your options are. And then anything that you really want to go for that you're willing to risk it, you do in the last couple days. It's just smart. Do you know how unfortunate it is whenever you like take a huge trip and you go out and get hurt on the first day? Like it sucks. That's why. Depressing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I always try and ask the questions as long as they're not rude or anything. I was kind of interested to hear what your thoughts were on that. But yeah, moving on from that, this one comes in from, I'm going to so fuck this up, Wilto666. After what seemed like multiple consecutive injuries, did you ever doubt getting back on the bike? And if so, what got you back on and shredding harder than ever? And we kind of answered that, but if you want to summarize it.
No, well, I'll shout out to Wilto. He's a friend of mine, good guy, rides for Tempered Bikes in Australia, or Tempered Goods, that I'm involved with. So, yeah, we're in close contact. So, yeah, shout out to Wilto. Hell yeah, that dude's a legend. But, yeah, like you say, I kind of feel like we've already answered that. Man, it's come full circle for me. It's just I got perspective on things and just trying to do things that are important to me.
Definitely. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. And then the last fan question here comes in from Related Goods. New video part, ?
Fuck. Dude, just the stuff I've been posting on Instagram or on the Instagram story is just like what I'm stoked on at the moment. Like a new video part would be intense, but like it would be a intense project to kind of undergo, but maybe I could do it. It would be amazing if I did that, because then that's like an 11-year hiatus from making a video.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would really like to see that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a matter of because I mean I got my own camera, like take photos, and I like to film, and edit and stuff like that. So it's, as you probably know, as a filmer, you know, you go out and you're filming your buddies and you're like, oh, film something of me, and you hand it over and it's just a bit like, just bro cam, and you're like, oh man, I don't want to risk myself for just bro cam footage.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think if I was going to film a project, I would film it with a filmer and do trips, or, you know, come to Melbourne, do some stuff, go on a trip, go there, and just try and like do it as a traditional video part.
Yeah, that's something, sorry to interrupt, that's something that I've always felt, dude, and it's always so difficult to hand the camera to someone who maybe just isn't as experienced as you would like, someone who maybe just doesn't get how it works or might fuck it up. Like, it's nothing against them, it's not their fault, it's literally just that, like, it can be uncomfortable, especially when you've set a specific standard for yourself and how footage should look, especially if it's going to be coming out with your name on it, right? Like, I always really, really put a lot of pressure on myself on that. And I got a lot of shit from some of my friends because I wouldn't send them clips that I didn't think that I filmed properly. And they didn't understand it, they didn't get it, but it was something that I personally felt like I didn't want to put out anything that was low quality that had my name on it.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is why I touched on like the Instagram thing just a minute ago about it. It's kind of a good way to, you know, say you're having a session and someone does film you, or you're like, oh, just quickly film me doing this trick. I like, because it's the context of a phone and it's going on Instagram, you kind of, your standards get lower.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So you're just like, dude, I'll just fucking send it, and just whatever it is, I'm okay with that. But if I was like, here, film it HD, let's make it sick, and then I like have this video and it's just all dodgy dad cam clips, I mean, I'd just be like, why did I imagine if I crashed? I'd be so like frustrated in myself. Like, so I think I will continue to do just keep writing, try and, you know, do what I want to do. You know, there's certain tricks that I've like just only learnt in the last 3 years that I'm stoked on, and so I like film them and put them out, and so I'll just keep doing that. There's a few more tricks I want to learn, get them sorted, like the achievement checkbox of bike stunts, get them all sorted, then I'll feel complete, and then I will film them on a phone. But if it happens to be that I film a project, I will also film a project. And you know what? Like, thinking about it now and kind of like going back to earlier things that I've said with the video thing, is like, I'm learning these tricks now and executing like the way that I want a trick to look. Like a 3 table, for example. Like, I've always had this idea of what I wanted a 3 table to look like. And so now to be able to execute that in my like vision is freaking sick, and it's only for me. Like, I don't do it for like, it's sick that there's photos and people took videos and stuff at Act Jam of me doing it. Like, that gets me so hyped, man, like that my peers would actually want to take a photo or film me. Like, I'm beyond stoked with that. And then, but I'm more stoked that I have like learnt this trick and given it the respect. And I mean, it's not a crazy trick, but it's just like self-fulfillment. I wanted to go and execute this trick. I wanted to do this trick in front of my peers, and we all say, hell yeah, isn't this fucking sick? And the same goes for all them fucking shredding. Like, all them dudes are doing stunts that I'm like, dude, that was sick as fuck. And that's that whole like community and participation, and it's basically, in a nutshell, everything that we've spoken about.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, that's really good. I fully agree with you on that. It's something that's like, it's so weird as someone who films all the time, because I don't really look at it that way, but whenever you hear how much somebody appreciates the work that you're putting in, even if it is just pointing a phone at someone and they just post it to Instagram right after, it can be really meaningful, you know?
Yeah, it's great, and there's different tools for different jobs, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phone, social shit, and you got the good cameras and the good filmers for the legit projects.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you were saying earlier about Instagram and just being able to post it right on the spot makes a lot of sense when it comes to someone who isn't as experienced with filming, because there's nothing worse than going through all the effort of like opening up your editing software, importing all the footage, taking a look at it. You've got it on your computer now, and then you see that it looks like shit, and you're like, well, how do I make it look good? Because I've already gone through all the effort, rather than being able to literally just click the button on the phone to look at it and be like, oh, yeah, that looks fine for Instagram. I'll post it.
Yeah,
But
that's 100%.
yeah, definitely. And I had one last question here that I had written, but I kind of want to change it up. So if that's okay with you, we'll end it off with one more here. And this is one that I didn't write, but I think it's important. And I wanted to know, what is your advice to someone out there, you know, or just the people out there in general who are feeling really burnt out with BMX, who are kind of in that mindset that you were in where you just wanted to leave it all behind? And what's your advice for them to keep going and to push through it and to continue riding? Do you think that maybe they should take a break and just stop and then come back when they feel better? Or should they try and do something else within the industry to get their stoke up again? What do you think?
So to answer your question, it's a good question, by the way. And yeah, you kind of said what I would say is, like, take some time away from BMX. Don't be scared of, like, not, like, if BMX or your feelings towards BMX aren't the same anymore, and it's either frustrating or it's burning you out, or, I mean, if you're too close to the fire and it's freaking burning you, like, step away from it, like, move back, like, chill out, like, go do something else, and just invest yourself in that, and, like, figure out that you can do the same, you can achieve the same, like, level of determination and participation and execution that BMX taught you in these other things. So 77 Lipstick Boy, who asked me the question before, Ammon, he, like, left riding and now he's like crazy triathlete, and does these crazy, like, marathon runs. And, you know, last time we caught up, we were talking about this and, like, how great it was to actually leave BMX and discover something else and then do the whole thing again. It's like you're 14 or 12 again, and you're like, you build this new thing up, this new activity, and you do that, and then you look at BMX and you go, wait a second, you see BMX more for, like, what it is. All it is just, like, what it is. It's got nothing, like, it's not very deep, it's not very big or broad. It is what it is. Like, you know, you could say that it's deep and it's big and it's broad, but what I'm getting at is it's just what it is. It isn't more. And if you're trying to, like, you know, get something out of it, like, you know, receive, like, a sponsorship or, like, more kudos or props, or you're trying to get it to do something for you that it's not doing and you're getting upset about it, maybe you need to change your state of mind. Maybe you need to be like, whoa, I need to make it work for me, not why isn't it work for me? Like, you can't be at wars with it. You can't be trying to, like, arm wrestle it into, like, submission. Just be like, do it my way. BMX has to be my BMX. And this kind of touches on, like, a broader topic of, like, you know, hatred within genres of BMX, like people's perceived, you know, tribalism of, you know, the park riders or the Olympic riders versus the street or trails, like, core dudes, you know, how they might not see eye to eye because they have the true meaning of BMX or whatever. It's just all BMX. It just is BMX. They're doing it. Who gives a fuck? Like, go and do something else. If you're that, like, caught up and worried and it's causing you that much, like, worry and trauma, just fucking get away from it. Like, chill out. And then on the flip side of that, you know, if you are genuinely, like, it is, like, sad it is depressing and sad to feel like you're like giving BMX away or giving it up or like not being able to participate, or you're engaged with like the scene and you're like progressing and you're learning and you're like maybe not as good as, but you're keeping up with the current skills, and you're getting older, and then there comes a point where you can't keep up anymore, and other riders just keep getting better and they're the pros and whatever. And that's maybe a hard pill to swallow, and that's when people become bitter and upset and get jaded on it. They're like, well, man, I can't do triple tail whips every session, every day. It's just burning me out. Well, maybe change your game up. Maybe you don't need to be doing triple tail whips every session. Or like in my case, it's like maybe you don't need to be going and filming bangers, jumping down 18 stairs every session. Like maybe you can just go and chill and do something else. But, those feelings are like, it's part of growing up, man. It's part of like just becoming a whole person. Like, maybe they're amplified because BMX is like a little macro life. So there's a lot of passion and like feelings involved. So, it feels very like visceral, and you're like, oh, I'm really just over it, or sick of it, or bitching, or you just feel sad, or you just like, you just need to face the music. You need to like just go and do what you need to do. Go for a freaking bushwalk. Go on a spirit quest, man. Go and fucking learn about who you are as a person. And if BMX is meant to be in your life, or whatever it happens to be, it will still be there, and you can come back to it, and it can be what it's meant to be for you, which that's what I feel like I've discovered. Like it's not now, I've discovered now in my life. Like it's only what it is meant to be. It's not meant to be the be all and end all best thing. There's nothing wrong about that, but also you've got to, if it's not the way, if that's not the way it is for you, or the thing's starting to shift, let it be. Figure it out. Learn something else. Get involved. Man, it's all life. It's all that we're doing is living, and BMX is just one manifestation of that. So just get amongst it, get stoked, and if you're not stoked, figure it out. Like, look into it. Be like, why aren't I happy? Why do I feel this way? And yeah, I don't know, man. I've touched on so many things here. I'm sure there's some chunks of information for people there. So yeah.
Dude, I don't think anyone could, I don't think anyone else could say it any better. And I think for you, as someone who's done all of that and experienced it firsthand, and then come back, and not just come back as like, I'm going to ride once a week, but actually come back and learned a bunch of new stuff, has started riding a whole different genre of BMX, if you want to look at it that way, and just everything within it. I think that you are the perfect person to say it, right? Like, it's literally, thanks, no one else could say it any better. Like, that's some great advice, and I hope a lot of people really listen to that and really consider it. Thanks, because there's nothing wrong with taking a little bit of time off if it's going to better it in the end for you,
Yep. Well, thanks, man. Look, thanks for the compliment. I will say that, all your guests and all people have their own story that they're living. And there's something to be like taught or learn from everybody. So, you just got to listen. Everybody's a teacher. Everything's a lesson if you know how to listen. That's all you got to remember, right? You got to be willing to, this is why podcasts are such a good thing, like long form conversations. Like, they give people an opportunity to, explore different ideas, different people's thinking and ideas and philosophies and whatnot. It's great, man. So thank you for facilitating that.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you for coming on. And this is kind of the end of the show here. We'll get you to shout out, say thanks, do whatever you need to do. Who do you want to, shout out and thank?
Well, thank you for having me, man. It's been,
thank you.
It's been real. yeah, so shout out to definitely Burns and Levan for their help and support and wisdom and whatnot over the years. And with Metal Bikes and BoneDeth, of course. And then shout out to Tempered Bikes, Tempered Goods, or Tempered. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand. It's an Australian brand.
Yep,
I do
definitely heard of
graphic
them.
design work for them. And Chris Harrison, the owner, he's always like supported me and, you know, facilitated, and, you know, we've always like worked together for the most part, aside from when I wasn't involved. But that's been a cool journey. So yeah, check out them. And that's a cool another little project that, you know, it's Australian, it's homegrown, it's kind of, we do what we can, and so loving that. Shout out to my girlfriend Rachel. She's always fucking telling me what's wrong and what's right, so that's good.
Yeah, they're pretty good at that, eh?
Yeah, it's great, man. They really like whip your ass into gear or tell you what's wrong. You know, it's great. So yeah, and then all my mates, BMX and outside of BMX, all the people that I've bumped into over the years, all the dudes that are keen on dead leisure, I'm fucking hyped on that. I feel like that's probably about it, man. And yeah, people who know who they are, man. Like I've got all my close friends, all the people that I have conversations with, and it means a lot, man. Like having cool people in your life. So yeah, shout out to all those people.
Definitely, man. And you know, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun. Honestly, this has been one of the better episodes in my mind recently, mainly because I've learned so much, and the conversations that we got into were actually pretty deep. And I'm really, really, really excited to put this one out and let people hear it.
I agree, man. I've had a great time chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. And to everybody who has come this far and, you know, listened to us chat for the last few hours, thank you so much for watching / listening. And we will see you in the next one. Peace.